Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The national government has directed Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen to conduct a thorough audit of the Kenya Ports Authority. This is to determine whether there have been any plans to annex the functioning of the port of Mombasa. Speaking at the official opening of the 119th Agricultural Exhibition in Mombasa, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the inspection is also to determine if any thefts have been carried out.
President William Ruto has already directed the new CS for Transport and Roads, Kipchumba Murkomen, to do an audit of the port facilities and establish what else has been stolen by the lords of impunity, state capture and conflict of interest, with a view of restoring the port to the people of Kenya.
He said the government's objective is to ensure that the port benefits Kenyans and not individuals.
Na tukataka kuambia hawa watafute biashara ingine ya kufanya. Hii badali is not available to be given to private individuals. It's a natural resource for this country. Na ni ya Wakenya wote. Na kwa hivyo serikali ya William Ruto italinda bandari. Na bandari ni ya Wakenya. Na watu ya hapa pwani wapatiwe nafasi pia wafaidike kutoka bandari.
Gachagua also took the opportunity to address the drought situation in Kenya. He instructed county governments to find ways to start distributing food aid and water to families who continue to face severe drought.
It is absurd that we are discussing food insecurity in the 21st century. But as a government, we'll see a different Kenya in the next few months. It is our commitment. Meanwhile, I appeal to all the county governments through the Council of Governors to moot a coordinated plan to supply food from the surplus producing counties to the affected regions. I also appeal to them to consider the lifting of the cess for food on transit to the affected zones affected by drought.
And Azimio leader Raila Odinga has denounced President William Ruto's administration over the ongoing probe into extrajudicial killings. Speaking in Nairobi, Odinga condemned the probe, saying that it is a witch hunt against former DCI boss George Kinoti and that the investigations have become vindictive. He accused the president of abusing his authority by allegedly going for specific individuals and police officers. According to Raila, President Ruto's animosity towards George Kinoti and the DCI dates back to before the elections. Additionally, Odinga requested that the Ruto administration invites foreign detectives to look into the unsolved murders of notable Kenyans like Chris Musando and Jacob Juma.
Tumelaani vikali yale ambayo yanaendelea wakati huu ya kulenga mtu mmoja ambaye alikuwa ni DCI bwana Kinoti, ambaye sasa lawama yote inalenga kwake. Na DCI hajapewa nafasi ya kujibu. Tunaona kama yale yote ambayo yanafanyika wakati huu ni kama ile kangaroo. Tumesema kuna Wakenya wengi ambayo wamepotea, wengine wameuawa kinyama mpaka wakati huu. Tumesema tunataka uchunguzi ifanyike, ijulikane ni akina nani walihusika. Tumengoja wale watu kama Jacob Juma ambaye alipigwa kinyama akawawa hapo katika barabara ya Ngong. Tumeongea vile vile juu ya bwana Musando ambaye alikuwa anafanya kazi kwa tume ya uchaguzi.
Raila Odinga also urged the president to concentrate on fulfilling his promises to Kenyans rather than raising taxes on them. Odinga counseled Kenya Kwanza on how to deliver on their promises by increasing revenue collections points and closing corruption gaps.
Na vile tunaona wakati huu hatuna ile shirika ambayo inaweza kufanya kazi hii ambayo itaweza kufanya. Natakikana tutafute watu wengine ambao labda wametoka nje wajiingize kwa mambo kama haya, vile marehemu Nyayo walifanya, alileta Scotland Yard hapa kuchunguza kifo ya bwana Robert Ouko. Hiyo ndio itaridhisha Wakenya. Yale ambayo yanafanyika wakati huu ni sarakasi. Hakuna ukweli yote ambayo itatokea na yale mambo ambayo yanafanyika wakati huu.
We go to the Parliament, and ODM-nominated MP John Mbadi is the chairman of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee PAC. Mbadi, who has been elected unopposed, will be assisted by Butere MP Tindi Mwale as his deputy. The committee is tasked with monitoring the financial expenditure of all government and departments and institutions. He said he was ready to hold the government accountable and perform the duties properly. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today this morning at Spice FM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do. Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
What's happening? Let me tell you what's happening. It's just early morning, so traffic is not so bad on major roads. Mombasa Road into town, Langata into town. Even Jogoo Road is not looking bad this Friday morning. Thika Superhighway is smooth sailing all the way. Ngong Road is not looking bad at all. Let's see how the situation will be looking like in about half an hour or at the top of the hour.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It's Friday, it is that day, the end of the week. The first Friday of November 2022. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody. City, how are you? Caught you at the bad time.
No, you didn't. It's the tea that caught me at a bad time. I was doing fine. The greetings were also fine.
Yeah.
The tea got in the way.
It's the timing.
The timing. But I'm well, thank you.
Good.
In fact, it isn't as cold as I thought it would be.
Okay. Sour.
I didn't say it wasn't cold.
No. I get what you're saying.
No. You
expected worse.
Yes.
You're pleasantly surprised.
I was going to say you clearly didn't get it. Who could get it? Who could get it?
I could get it.
Yes, nile could get it, yes.
Karibu bana.
Na wewe uko mzima?
Mimi niko mzima kabisa.
Yes.
Laban. We have a guest in the studio. A guest host. Laban Clifford Serio is the chief of staff in the office of the CEO, the group CEO of Standard Group Limited. He's also a presenter of The Headhunter and anchor of Transform from Kenya and very many other things. Laban.
Greetings.
Habari?
Eric, Barasubu. Salama sana. Oh my goodness, I was pushing for this. I realize the pace at which you drive at 4:30 or at 5:06 is different from how you drive at 7. There is a move. I actually came in and realized, oh my goodness, wait a minute. There's a sense of focus by the folks on the road. So I've woken up to some good awakening.
Laban, do you know what you've just done? You've told the whole country when the time you wake up.
Yeah. No, the time I get on the road. So either jump on the expressway or just go straight into the Standard Group. Of course, people always ask, how do you exit to the Standard Group in the morning? So
you stop. You get out of your car and walk.
Yes, we demand so. But anyway, good to be here, gentlemen, and thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. Yeah. You'll be our guest host today, staying here with us throughout all the conversations that we'll be having. And let me tell you about the conversations that we will be having. We've been talking about getting an opportunity to own a home. Instead of paying rent as you're doing today, how about you convert that rent into an investment towards home ownership? And we have been talking about the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, which is government-owned, and the shareholders are commercial banks and SACCOs. Now, the management of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company will be here with us today to talk about the unlocking liquidity for affordable housing. Finance manager at the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, Eric Wambua, will be with us, accompanied by the head of internal audit, Olive Getao. That conversation takes place at 7 a.m. There's a lot about affordable housing that we're talking about. Very, very many opportunities. So today, we want to talk about, forget about all this, government speak. How can you and I take advantage of this and actually purchase a house? That is what we want to focus on today. That will be our focus. At 9 o'clock, we'll be joined by a visiting Minister of State from the German federal government. Her name is Katja Kuhl.
Is it K-O-H-L?
No, K-A-U-L. K-E-U-L.
That one I don't know how to pronounce. I know how to pronounce
the first one is K-A-T-J-A. Pronounce that one.
Katja.
The second one is K-A-U-L. K-E-U-L.
No, I'm not certain how to pronounce that. I'm not certain whether I should go with the E or with the U. So
safer waiting for it.
So we'll just call her
Katja
K.
She will be here. She's been visiting the country. Yesterday she met members of parliament, and also she'll be coming to talk to us about Germany's development cooperation with Kenya and the work that they've been doing and everything else, and looking ahead into COP27 that's beginning this weekend in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. All those conversations at 9 a.m. Yep. Make sure you're keeping here for that.
Can't wait for that. I love the connection around these developmental partners. It's really great.
But shortly, we'll be looking at the newspaper headlines, what's on the front pages. You have your paper with you, Laban? You don't?
I should not say I'm not. I don't
Surely.
Look, I can literally run to the printing press and get extra copies.
No, there's an extra copy just out here. But use this one.
Here it goes.
Yeah, use that
of course, and get my digital copy as well.
Yes, and you have your digital copy as well. So let's take a break. Quick break at 6:15. We want to take a look at the weather forecast, and then we will be doing the usual thing that we normally do, which is acknowledge everybody who says they're up, they're ready for the conversations this morning, and telling us where they are locked in from.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The Samsung Galaxy A04s is here, and it's packing awesome features that will take your life to an awesome new level. You'll love viewing your favorite content on the awesome 6.5-inch screen. And with the 50-megapixel camera, you'll take photos that you'll want to share. The awesome long-lasting battery will make sure that you stay online and in touch for much longer. Get your Galaxy A04s today. Awesome's what we're doing.
Rainy day again in Nairobi. That's what we are witnessing this week. It's every day there will be some showers. So Rainy day again and some clear skies earlier in the morning. Highs of 24 in Nairobi. Mostly sunny day in Mombasa. Highs of 30. Malindi sunny day at 30. Clear skies in Kisumu at 26. Nakuru clear skies at 20. Nyeri rain at 21. Kakamega clear skies at 25. Eldoret clear skies at 23. Dar es Salaam sunny day at 31. Johannesburg cloudy day at 20. Kampala clear at 27. Kinshasa clear at 31. Lagos partly cloudy at 31. New York clear at 19. London thunderstorms and there's an alert at 12. Paris light rain at 13. And Beijing sunny day at 14.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Yeah. So let me tell you who is online. Many people are awake today, my friend. Many. So, number one, Dennis wa Murkwijit says Kapenguria inasikiza. Zef Kiroro, good morning, Spice FM, watching you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Simon Odhiambo, morning, friends. Kindly, people, invite Nancy Macharia to the studio. Delocalization of teachers is poisonous. Nancy Macharia is the boss of the Teacher Service Commission. Yes, we will look for her. Simon says delocalization is, it's not good. It's not new, though, delocalization. It's what used to happen.
It's not new at all. At all.
Wambui Muirore says Kairi is present. George Ndongo, good morning from Malalangao. Maurice Monyo-Nyanda, good morning, TSR. Greetings from Ombei. It's great to be back after a long absence. Wishing you a lovely day. Karibu. Robert Bogo, good morning. Mombasa is tuned in. Andrew Mark, Nakuru City is listening on 96.0. Etienne Jermaine Jackson Jumbo, Kisumu Dala is locked. Weekend in Jema, Joturwa.
Yes, the people from our place.
No, to Nakuru. Shout out. That's my backyard.
That's your backyard? Nakuru? Jen Jesh, Ndani, Jen Duta City. Good morning, Eric. Good morning. Where is Ndu? Ndu is taking a break. Hopefully she'll be back next week. She's recharging her batteries. Kolwe Nyakat sub-county. You know who's there? Cleo Fazanam. He is already locked. Akondani. Waithera Njoroge generator. She's in Doha. Noah Kiganda. Good morning, Karibu Sana. Nyaketi says, good morning, City and Eric, tuned in from Kolenyo Market. Yes, we also have Lebanon Cliff Ontario with us. Andrew Franklin, listening in from Irani, Lavington. TGIF, Andrew. Buyayi Marachi Butula. Good morning, Simon Marakana. Morning, my seniors, watching from BGM. What's BGM? Bungoma. Yep, it's tuned in. Dennis Mongela Matei Jr., it was just a day, nothing good. Well, having a good morning as well. Shik's Lazy checking in. Good morning. Narok is tuned in. Picky Ponky. Everybody, welcome to the conversation. City has the day's proverb. We're still in Egypt?
Yes, final proverb from the land of the pharaohs.
Okay.
People bring their own undoing through their tongue.
People bring their own undoing through their tongue.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Have you heard how people wrap their tongues around their necks? That one.
People bring their own undoing
through their tongue.
It's a nice observation.
By the way, they also have these proverbs which are like, an entire prose.
They do?
Yeah, but those ones I avoid. I avoided them.
Give us one. For example?
Nope, sorry.
For example, I mean, how do we believe you?
All right, fine. Organization is impossible unless those who know the laws of harmony lay the foundation. How's that one?
Wow. You.
Sulitisha.
But I feel like those have a very strong Arabic connection and a culture to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the organization is one of the...
I told you, foundation.
Sheesh, man. Okay, so let's just deal with the other one. People
bring their own undoing through their
tongue.
Simple, straightforward.
Bas.
No foundation.
You don't have to...
No organization.
You don't have to cram the proverb. Hey, Okay, let's look at the newspaper headlines. What's on the front page of the Standard?
See, Standard.
Here goes.
No, let's
tell us.
Tell us what's on the headline of the Standard.
Yes.
You asked me if I have my papers. Can you please get your digital copy as well? Oh, there you have it. Bad day for Uhuru men. Oh, that's interesting. So here goes. As he stole the international limelight for brokering Ethiopia Tigray pistol, some Kenyatta administration's men were having it rough in Nairobi. That's from David Murathe, who appeared before the EACC, to Fred Matiang'i, who was dropped in court. In Mombasa, DP Gachagua was vowing to review all port deals, while at Kenyatta University, an administrator banished by his regime bounced back. I have a question, GD. If a dog bites you, do you blame the dog or do you blame the master?
Well, there are those who would argue that you bite the dog back. Interesting task, but I wouldn't... if you're discussing this, just should we speak and say generally, then we say we have a philosophical discussion ahead of us.
Okay.
If you're talking politically...
Yes.
Well,
I'd love to sit you down for coffee over that, to be honest.
And you're here.
Anyway.
This one, my friend, you know how it is, we were saying in Kenya with regards to buying land.
Yes.
Buyer beware. That one.
Yes.
Okay? Politician beware.
Yeah.
Okay? What goes around?
Comes around.
Yes. It's not complicated.
Yes.
That's it. That's all I have to say.
Eric, if a dog bites you, do you blame the dog or do you blame the master?
Blame the dog.
Oh, why are you sitting? Okay, depends for you. Depends whether politically or...
Yes, I mean, if the reference point is just a general discussion, then it's a nice philosophical discussion. But with reference to politics, I just say this: what goes around
comes around.
That's all I will say.
That's all you're gonna say,
and leave it at that.
And as we go in this conversation, I hope, Eric, we talk about loyalty. It's come up a lot in our conversations as well.
Who's loyal?
Loyalty, loyalists. We will talk about that, of course, and not in reference to the headline as well.
It's a very rare currency in politics as well. Huh?
Yeah.
What is in abundance though is treachery. That one.
It's a lot.
Man, it's common fodder. You turn your head, you meet,
right and center.
It's everywhere, it's around you.
So what bad day is this, Barry? Just give us the details of that story.
So, of course, by the look of it, and hypothetically speaking, these were Uhuru men. I can't say what. These are still loyalists. These were bosom buddies. These were confidants of the past administration, and what of course we're getting and seeing a lot, and of course the story covering is seeing, for instance, Kenyatta University, and we saw a brief actually sent out by the Deputy Vice Chancellor announcing that students should line up from the gate and welcome back the ousted or the VC who of course is back into office. Kind of showing a sense of jubilation and a celebration after the quote atrocities that he faced because of the land deals that Kenyatta University went through. So word on the ground is that it was thought out to be that perhaps an issue because the state interfered with the runnings of the university, and there was a bit of a back and forth between the management and the university council. Just an example, for instance. So if it's a directive that came in from, the government and following into the university, so that's what I'm saying. Who do you blame? Ideally, they're just following procedure.
Who?
You're talking about like the VC of the
VC and the university council. Sorry, the university council. Of course, the VC reports into the council.
The university council, remember, was fired.
Yes,
but that's coming from the ministry as well.
Yeah, but and orders have come. I don't know. From Joseph Kenya, a letter says this is the issue that has happened. We need this piece of land. University council questions, the VC questions, and then they're told, no, it's a directive from above.
Yeah.
And the question they're asking is, have we followed due process? Because ultimately, we are answerable for any action that we take. Have we followed due process?
Yeah.
Let's follow due process. Of course, because of that, they were removed.
Yeah.
Plus the VC.
Yeah.
Now, new administration comes in. The new council is removed.
Yeah.
The old VC comes back.
Okay.
So is it about the administration or is it about due process?
Or is it about political musical chairs?
Or is it a political message?
Yes.
I always look at the timing, gentlemen. The timing was really close towards the end of the end of the first regime as well, and I mean, you actually try and balance it out and say, okay, wait, what exactly was this about? There was pushback as well. Of course, this got the attention of the students, comrade power. I think that must have helped to a large extent. Remember, there was a whole lecture where the VC was moved to tears, explaining why
he's being hounded.
Anyway, so that's one. I mean, we have another one. I mean,
but what do you see there? Is this the new administration revisiting? Are they correcting?
Are they righting a wrong?
Are they righting a wrong, or are they sending a political message?
First, I need to declare that, of course, I served in the...
you served the people of Kenya in government.
And I'm honestly grateful for my...
I think what's happening, Laban is beginning to think that he's actually sitting on this chair. No, Laban, if you're sitting on this chair here, the questions would be framed differently.
It's only fair because they're key lessons, and these are lessons I'll carry for life, which is how government operates.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it's militant. The discipline there is at another level, and that I'll carry along. There's discipline.
There's discipline.
There's discipline
in government.
There's discipline in government.
Okay. Which government?
There's discipline, and there's I like the respect to orders, and I like the respect towards a following direction.
Okay.
Now, when you have a letter from your boss's boss
saying this is the way we are going,
best. My friend, wherever you're sitting, whatever chair sitting, but as long as it lands on your desk, you execute. Quote, execute. And that's a word I'm actually carrying as well right now. And actually, I'm reading a book on execution.
Okay.
Because it's something that I see if the private sector will just learn to execute what they talk about.
Private?
With military precision.
With private, do you say private sector or public sector?
He says if private sector were to take lessons from the public sector, this country would move very far.
I thought it was the other way around. Public sector.
Their arms, I think maybe
this is
what is
experience from inside. The man served in the president's delivery unit.
Okay.
So tell us.
And I must say, I mean, we got a lot of lessons from, and not only from the PDU, but the Tony Blair Institute. The Tony Blair Institute is driving something across Africa, talking about deliverology, which is getting things done. How do you just deliver?
But people get things done. You may not particularly like what they get done, but
3-6 months down the line after the questioning the letters that are landing on the desk. Like, wait a minute, Eric, I think I can do it differently. Things move. There's a section, and actually the deliverology concept is a sharp end of the spear that gets things done. So maybe the department in government you're referring to, perhaps in your previous life, would take a while before they deliver on what the directions.
But eventually they did.
Eventually they did. So I mean, it's very interesting.
So Tony Blair is telling us that we don't know what we're doing, and he's the one who knows what we should do.
No. He's actually implementing. Look at what Tony Blair was trending the other day when we had the whole back and forth with the UK elections as well. Because people were saying we need him back.
They were comparing his time to the present.
Yes, and I mean
those comparisons are usually far-fetched.
These are public
we've seen it in this country. Every former president is a darling once they leave. So it's this is where it is.
But the concept still stands. To be honest, deliver, getting things done.
Okay. You've avoided that question, so let's just move on to the next one.
Let's get other things done.
Yes. Get other things done.
Yeah.
So VC out. Who are these other men who are facing a
We've
tough
seen
day
David
yesterday?
Murathe. Showed up in fantastic sleek cars and stunners into the EACC offices. Very relaxed. This is the former president's best friend, as we've of course reported and of course known out there. Then there is Fred Matiang'i, who again, the president's implementer. So the man who gets a job done. So the
What birthday did he have?
I mean, of course, there are those questionings. It's a question, you know, and I like how it is. I wish we would actually get to have in-depth look into the, you know, of course, as a journalist, you're only allowed to not go past the revolving doors of the EACC. But Eric, I think it's no secret that any journalist would want to know how the questioning goes behind the scenes, and you know, say what exactly were you asking the former, Minister of Interior. But those are things that we can only speculate for now. So yes, do we know what's happening? No, but indeed a bad day, because these are not things that would actually happen in the past administration, and now we're seeing it front and central.
Katikati of the things,
front and center.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I think for the further on the pages, of course, if you grab your copy of the Standard, bad day for Uhuru Men on page 4, 6, 7, and 8. Page 4, 6, 7, and 8. Of course, just expounding deeper onto what happens. And, of course, once you just land on page 4, is that there's a quote there. It's in, the state wants us to implicate Uhuru over disappearances. This is a story by Kamau Muthoni.
Another story. We'll look at that shortly. Let's first take a break. It's 6:30. This is the Situation Room. We are telling you about growing your wealth, okay? We'll tell you about how to own a home. Right now, let me tell you about how to own a piece of land. Olive Real Estate presents Nigerian Ridge Phase 3, a gated community and infrastructural development located 4 kilometers from the SGR substation at Nachu and 500 meters from the Ngong Suswa Road, providing freehold titles and beacons. It's in close proximity to schools, electricity, and water. They are organizing a site visit on the 19th of November. Book your slot today by calling 0704 30 30 30, 0704 30 30 30, or you can visit the website olivelimited.com. olivelimited.com. Olive Real Estate, securing your tomorrow.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody wants to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do. Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's Friday and it's looking different from how yesterday was looking at about this same time. Thika Superhighway is not looking bad. The only issue is just there at the intersection with Kiambu Road, but it's not bad. It's building up at around Pangani, but it's moving. Jogoo Road, just the usual issues at Makadara Hamza, but the rest of the road is fine. Outer Ring Road, smooth all the way. Mombasa Road, smooth, apart from just a few areas like, the roundabout that's supposed to be a U-turn at General Motors entering Enterprise Road. That is where the issue is. That government has delivered there. Langata Road is moving. Ngong Road is moving. James Gishuru Road is moving. If there's anything that we need to talk about, let us know. SpiceFM KE.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
Right, so again, what's happening today? Let me tell you. Chief Justice Martha Koome will launch the State of the Judiciary and Administration of Justice annual report for the financial year 2021-22 at 10 a.m. today at the Supreme Court grounds. The President, Dr. William Ruto, will be gracing the occasion, and you can follow proceedings live on TV and online. CJ is working. So, City, let me tell you what's the front page of the Nation.
Please tell me what's on the front page. Of
We are under We are under pressure to frame Kinoti. 9 officers from the disbanded Special Service Unit accused of killing 2 Indians and their taxi driver tell court their arrest is politically instigated to settle scores and that they are being pushed to implicate former DCI boss George Kinoti in exchange for their freedom. 10-10-10, isn't it?
Push back.
10-10-10. So they were speaking in court with their lawyer, Dunstan Umari. And this is what he said. My clients are before this court because the state wants to use them to settle political scores. It's their commander who's being targeted, and they're under pressure to incriminate him and then turn into state witnesses. Even the bones and clothes that were allegedly retrieved and suspected to belong to the 2 Indians and their drivers have been disowned by their families. There is genuine fear and anxiety. Preliminary investigations point to a larger network of individuals who are yet to be arrested and hold crucial information. This is what the investigating officer, Michael Kirui, had told the court. So the lawyer for the 9 DCI officers is saying, look, people, what you're seeing here, these people are being pushed to come out here and say it's Kinoti who did this, and then go even beyond Kinoti and say, who else? Implicate officers of the former administration. And if they do that, the deal is they'll then become state witnesses and charges against them specifically will be dropped. And now the state will start pursuing who? The bigger fish.
Do you know where I'm stuck at, to be honest? At the picture of these DCI officers. This is a picture taken, actually it's on the page 4 of the Standard by Colin Square. Really hidden in hoods and masks and shukers, yes, to be honest. And of course, you trust Dunstan with making sure that he represents them to the fullest of what he can. And of course, he's been with us as well on our platforms. So I don't know what you read into this, to be honest. I look at it. It's on one hand, it's we are being pushed to. I don't know if it's a way to actually ask for. This was not our issue to handle. We were just loyalists.
Like you said, if an order comes from your boss's boss, what do you do?
It's to be honest.
The problem with having a command economy, this is a polite way of referring to a dictatorship, is that you have a situation where you are never really sure who gave the order, because you can't follow the order beyond the point at which you receive it. Now, what was done under orders, what was done at someone's own instigation, because they realize there's a leeway here, and since we're being given all sorts of orders and by different people, who is going to know who gave which order?
Who's in charge,
Because you'll say president, there are those who will say Matiang'i, there are those who will say Kibicho, there are those who will say it was the Kinoti, there are those and remember Mutiambai, because Kinoti reported to the Inspector General. Okay, now who answers to who? Who do you blame? And then these gentlemen we're now speaking about, because there's no lady there, they are at the bottom of this particular ladder. So what do you think was actually happening? And then it's them who are being pointed to. How many other people in the service probably took advantage of a situation where they realized it was loopholes galore? You could get away with anything. So you could, your own little vendetta, your own little mission, who knows? This one, it is almost impossible to actually know who said what or who gave the orders to do what. You can't know.
But one thing for sure is that a police constable does not just get up and do things one, twice, thrice.
On their own. Constable is not senior by any stretch of any imagination.
They don't. These are police constables and a corporal.
There's one inspector. There's one inspector, chief inspector, just one. Okay. Now these are the fellows. Are we saying that these fellows were? We've had this debate here.
So we're going after the small fish, or
is that not always the case? Is that not always the case? Because it isn't the first time in this country where we're talking about extrajudicial killing. There are those who will tell you the reasons behind it. Countries like Chile now are still dealing with the ramifications of these disappearances and extrajudicial killings which happened in the 1980s. the previous century. So this isn't something that's going to go away soon.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, until and unless we are ready to say, okay, folks, why don't we just open this lid? But you open that lid, what else do you think is going to come out? Because it has begun.
Yeah.
The moment people start saying, but you see,
that's it.
That's it.
It's an whole wide one. Yes. Raila waded into it yesterday as well. Raila addressed the press conference yesterday. He said, you know what, leave Kinoti alone. Look at all the extrajudicial killings that have taken place. Look at Yebe. Look at who. Look at the other. We said this last week, City.
We did.
When the president starts this, the calls for him to establish a public commission of inquiry, he will not execute that.
Because that, my friend,
public commission of inquiry.
You feel like there'll be an outpouring
it's Pandora's box reloaded.
Yes.
You do have no idea what's going to come out.
Yeah.
The first such inquiry that we had in this country was over the death of one J.M. Kariuki. Okay? And there's a minister then called Mwangale who headed it. Nothing was disbanded. Every time we've had this sort of thing, Ouko,
same,
disbanded. Just when people are supposed to give
him blah, blah, blah,
kill it. Disbanded.
Do you feel like it's only fair to just have that, because the public hearing kind of elicit emotions, they have people just kind of raise questions into all this, other than just making sure that the courts can just do their work and just making sure that this can take another course, because you don't want to have the Pandora's box coming in and resulting into an uprising, for instance.
Laba, let me tell you, forget the uprising. The Wananchi in this country are fairly resilient. They're almost bulletproof. It's hunger, which is a bit of a problem. The other things don't bother them. You begin on that journey, you're going to have to tell us, for instance, who owns Kenya Airways. You're going to have to tell us how all these ministers who told us how many hundreds of millions they own, you're going to have to tell us how they got to that. Whether it's 100 million, 90 million, 200, how? Please just walk us through that particular path so that we understand. You will open a can of worms because it will not stop there.
Yeah.
Now, do the people in power want this to continue? Because that's where it'll head.
Yes.
And it'll come back to them as well. We'll ask, okay, there's this amount that we've heard being spoken of. We just heard. Okay? Please tell us a little bit more about it. We know it exists.
Yeah.
You yourself have confirmed. So tell us, how?
Eric, I don't know if you saw what Kipchumba Murkomen, speaking about, who owns Kenya Airways, and of course the other stories that come after it, is that I'm trying to get the actual quote so I don't just say it verbatim and miss it out. It's just like, he said, the first thing I'm going to go is get the SGR contract as soon as I assume office. And I think that's what everyone was expecting to actually see. So we're waiting for that. But he was quoted saying that I think when he went to office, he got a shocker of the kind of office that he actually got. Just trying to load it up. Let's see if it comes up. But anyway, there was a state lunch between the past cabinet secretaries and the current cabinet secretary, which I thought was a smart move by the president, to be honest, to just kind of bring in that camaraderie. And guys, we're here to work. Of course, there are some things we'll see in your offices that perhaps we might not agree to, but we thank you for your service. I mean, the lunch was
such
really cordial.
People have daggers in their coat pockets.
Oh God, I'm gonna get it. Come on.
This is with regards to
this was just regards him assuming office. There's been all this handing over ceremonies and stuff, and I think maybe
that
we
is
need
a good thing.
There's been all this handing over ceremonies, but I think he went further and said, okay, well, the kind of thing I've just seen on my table, I'm like, okay.
There's a lot that was happening here. There's a lot that he says a lot was happening when in that ministry. You found it?
Yeah, I mean, it's coming up. It's coming up. But anyway, I think for the lunch really for me was a breath of fresh air, because first of all, people were saying, will say, for instance, former Minister of Interior, Fred Matiang'i, shake hands. When we saw the picture of them shaking hands, with the president, and now of course with Kithure Kindiki. I mean, so at the heart of it, I mean, they're friends. But I know when you now mention that names and the chicken will come home to roost, then you are going to see a bit of this happening, a lot of this happening.
But you know what? All these guys, what they're doing now is that they're coming in with a lot of excitement over, what we will do. The president, when he was campaigning, said, as soon as I take over office, the first thing I'm going to do, release that SGR contract.
Yeah.
Okay?
So we're still waiting.
Didn't. So he nominated a CS.
Yeah.
CS goes before vetting in Parliament. He says, the first thing I'm going to do once you guys approve me and I'm sworn in, release SGR contract. What did he say on TV the other day? I am looking for it.
I'm still looking for it.
I'm still looking for this SGR contract. That SGR contract will never be made public. Even if they do, it'll be a heavily redacted contract.
State security. Here goes. Are you ready, City, Eric? So this is what Kipchumba Murkomen said, of course, current Minister of Infrastructure. I'm shocked. I don't know about the other sectors and what they have discovered. I think the captain of state capture was living in my ministry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think when he said that, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just still first few days in office, first 100 days in office. Let's see if he makes do what he said during his interview, which for me, I feel is also another fantastic opportunity for us as media to hold into account all those pledges that this cabinet secretary has actually made in a panel, some jittery and some really shocked, and say, okay, what you actually said in your first 100 days, what you're going to do.
This and the
so
other.
let's see.
Laban.
Political let's hold them to account.
Political promises are political promises.
But this was largely, I think during the interview we didn't see podium speeches. We actually saw guys who are really saying, guys, if you give me this job, this is what I'm going to do. Like with any interview, I mean, I don't know with all the hires
Laban,
made.
those are political speeches.
But they tried.
But what you're saying is
tried to be at home.
And
with
I think it starts
with
with Parliament.
Yeah.
Just holding them to account.
Yeah.
In the role of oversight. So this is what you've said you're going to do.
Yes.
Are you doing it?
Yeah.
And this whole story of coming to say, I am looking for the contract. I saw that, and I spoke in a forum where we are with Kipchumba Murkomen and said, this is bunk. If you're saying that the cabinet secretary for transport does not have access to a contract on SGR, and of course, this is assuming that because you don't have access to it, even your treasury counterpart has not seen it. Against what are you paying? The loans that we're paying.
Yeah. And let's see. I will refer to what the deputy president said yesterday in Mombasa, of course, speaking about the port operations and referring that this was among the facilities that were gonna be captured. But anyway, I wouldn't want to get into that because in fact we are trying to also engage the Kenya Ports Authority to ensure what exactly goes on the port. And our CEO Lando Lyomu met with the CEO of the Kenya Ports Authority, just trying to understand. Because I feel they feeling like perhaps maybe we are not really getting to know the ins and outs.
They are misunderstood.
Yeah, they feel like they're misunderstood, and of course they cannot really come on to our interview as much as we'd like them to. But with the deputy president being there and with the statement that's been made, of course that it's a wait and see. But I also feel that, and the other day as well, we had the Ukraine ambassador. Speaking about the grain imports and saying that, by the way, we're going to have more shipment coming in. So what exactly is happening at the port? How many containers are coming in? What exactly was the port put on as security for the SGR? So I mean, all these questions.
And there was a move the other day.
Yeah, let's just sit down and say.
There was a move to some people are calling it, to bequeath a new terminal to the KPRL and a private ship company. And this is what the DP was saying. We are going to investigate, to form a probe into this and see exactly what happened and why did you do this. He was claiming the KPA board of directors had rejected the deal under which the DP World, the Dubai Port World, was to use its money to build 3 berths at the Mombasa port, develop cold storage facilities in Kisumu and Naivasha and special economic zone. He says, no, we are going to review all these deals and we are going to form a probe. He said, the Mombasa port, a national facility, was nearly privatized. The Ruto administration thwarted attempts to seal the port of Mombasa by the lords of impunity, state capture and conflict of interest. In the sunset days of the last regime, there were games being played. And I want to thank the KPA board of directors for their patriotism because they refused to allow the stealing of the port. The audit of the port facilities will establish what has been stolen with a view to restoring the port to Kenyans. This is the Deputy President, Rigiji. This is what he was saying. There is a whole... Everything that they're saying now is an inquiry. They started with the pre-election promise of there will be an inquiry into state capture.
So,
within 30 days, it did not happen. There's now a looming probe at the port. There's a looming probe on extrajudicial killings. There's it's task force after inquiry being promised, not being started.
And by the way, what Laban said is probably what ought to be at the core of our discussion. How does the port function?
Yeah.
Privatization of berths is a normal occurrence in any port on this planet. It's not new. In fact, when you expand port activities for purpose of efficiency, and if you talk about the number of containers, it's in the public domain, by the way.
Yep.
All the information about the port activities, there's nothing strange about it. What is strange is who benefits from
the port.
Yes, certain port activities, and how do they benefit? And how because you would assume that if these things are being privatized, it's out in the open. Other people tender, you send it, whatever it is that people do. But you open that door, you're opening that door to almost everything that happens in this country. And that is going to include even the people who are in power right now. Because it isn't as though they came from another planet and landed here.
But some of this is actually, we need to have as public information. Of course, not whatever will be private. I know there are state secrets that, of course, cannot be divulged to the public, but they're normal operations. Like this is the busiest port in East Africa. This is a transit port. It's a lifeline for countries in the region. I've actually covered a story. I mean, the good old days. I wish I can get some time to jump onto a truck from Mombasa to Kampala. Seeing all the roadblock, all the issues are going, all the container traffic that moves in. KRA, of course, the likes of Trademark East Africa, thanks to the UK aid, who facilitated this tracking of goods and what have you. So it's really a beehive of activity, and rightfully so. CT will send out an invite to Ambassador John Mwangemi, who's the managing director now confirmed of the Kenya Ports Authority, and of course, bring him on and just let's hear him out and see, listen to the numbers. Because this is it's a lifeline. It's I know we call it Kenya Ports Authority, but if you look at the other operation that is supposed, we can actually say it's an East Africa's hub, entry point into the region. So we cannot wait to see what the president made. Oh, speaking
what comes
of which,
out of it,
with your mimic, this gentleman, the Riggy boy. I mean, he's doing quite a good job, I think. Maybe the president, it's about time the president met him. I think there's a lot of
good job of
pushback, mimicking the president.
Or the TikTok guy.
Yes, the TikTok guy. He's doing a good
really,
job. I
really
think
good.
he's really trying.
He's really good.
The other day he was raising funds, and I think people got him over $1,000 just on an online comment. And,
He's very good.
He's as good as what he is.
If you simply heard it and
without looking at it,
you think, okay, what's the president saying?
City,
a good job on that.
What's on the Business Daily?
Dollar crisis piles pressure on 75 billion state firm foreign debt. Greenback loans account for 75% of non-guaranteed credit. Servicing costs up on weakening the shilling. You borrow on the dollar, the shilling goes weak. It's like you never paid anything. The debt, it doesn't stay there, it increases. Yes, the dollar goes, the value of the dollar does what it does, and you, my friend, and your debt, that debt just keeps piling. So, let me just read a line or two. State-owned enterprises are sitting on non-guaranteed foreign currency debt worth Kenya shillings 74.9 billion, exposing them to a higher financing cost due to the sharp depreciation of the shilling against the US dollar. The dollar loan accounts for 3/4 of the state-owned enterprises' total non-guaranteed debt of 99.3 billion, according to the Treasury Annual Debt Management Report for the fiscal year ended June 2022. Servicing costs for dollar loans has gone up for the parastatals due to the weakening of the shilling by 6.8%. That is a huge percentage. Huge. Huge, my friend. If you look at the amounts that we borrow,
it's not small.
Aye, man, it's a massive amount, which has raised the cost of buying the greenback locally to pay. Now, this is quite aside from the story of the availability of the dollar and how it is that businessmen are coping with this particular eventuality. Different story altogether. Right.
There was an interesting story I'd seen. I'm going to look for it. Okay. No, it's actually a 2-page advert in the papers today. Okay. Next hour, we're going to be talking to the managers of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. The Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development has a 2-page advertisement today in the papers. Tender advertisement, affordable housing program, pipeline projects. The Ministry of Lands, Public Works, blah, 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 through the State Department for Housing and Urban Development, invites experienced developers to submit bids for the first round of projects in the housing, in a affordable housing project. The bid opens on the 7th, closes on the 22nd of November. These are the following projects. There are how many projects in total? 59 CT across the country. Housing, design, build, finance and sell of housing units and construction of associated infrastructure for Shauri Moyo B housing project, 15 acres. There's Stony Earthy Waterfront City housing project in Machakos County, 132 acres. Design of houses in Eldoret Kapsusua housing project, 6 acres. In another one, Choge Kapsuswa, 4 acres. If I just go down the list, Malindi housing project in Kilifi County, 7 acres. Kanyakwar housing project in Kisumu, 11.98 acres. Kodda housing project in Konza, 2 acres. Thika housing project, 1.85 acres. There's this in Kiambu Road, Ruiru AMS, 9.7 acres. Kiharu housing project, 0.89 acres. And on and on and on and on and on. Very many acres. 75 acres of housing project in Langata, Nairobi. National Police Service West Park housing project, 75 acres. Do houses there. Some 60 acres in Embakasi at the National Police Rapid Deployment Unit. So, the ministry is saying,
let's try and
come in and
I mean, this is public information now.
Submit your bids. These projects are in the pipeline. They'll be taking place in the next. This is how we're going to get 250,000 units, 200,000 units every year. 1 million units in 5 years.
I only hope that the bureaucratic red tape that is often involved in these processes are streamlined. Because, my friend, sometimes for most people, they are more important than the project itself.
Yep.
Yes,
gentlemen, there's a gentleman I want to give credit to. This is the nominee who was, of course, reinstated and kept to hold his job. That's Principal Secretary
for Housing,
Charles Hinga.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's still being nominated to the same docket.
Yep.
And that should tell you something. The big 4-pillar housing, I would call it, would perhaps maybe now look like, and especially with this administration, is actually one of the key priorities as well. And with what PS Hinga did during his tenure, now, of course, what we expect him to do with this advertisement, of course, it's really a lot to do with some of the gains that he actually made in the first place. So the question is, and rightfully so, to your comment, City, it's just about getting that talk to action. So let's hope Parliament approves him and he can actually continue the good work. This will be the same thing we've seen with the markets. We've already seen the conversation around Kibera. Of course, there was a pushback to the president is that, the people in the slums are not really, they don't quite need the housing. So there's a debate about food, there's a debate about housing. But I mean, every administration, of course, would have its priorities. And for me, it's a clear sign. Giving PS Hinga the same docket that he actually held, and it shows a bit of trust as well, and confidence in the kind of man he is and what he can actually do,
and the work that they were doing earlier,
and the work that he is doing earlier as well. So I mean, that's on page 24 to page 25.
All the best to PS Charles Hinga. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. TheRoom.com, if you haven't visited them and you're looking for talent, you are losing out. Talent vetted for you, custom to you, working for you. The Room brings you highly skilled talent from across the globe, rigorously vetted and trained freelance software engineers, cloud developers, financial analysts, and administrative talent. All of them available on TheRoom.com, and you can even follow them on Twitter at The Room Global to get more and more details. In the next hour, we talk to KMRC, the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company, and we'll tell you about the work that they're doing. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The national government has directed Transport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen to conduct a thorough audit of the Kenya Ports Authority. This is to determine whether there have been any plans to annex the functioning of the port of Mombasa. Speaking in Mombasa, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the inspection is also to determine if any thefts have been carried out in the institution.
President William Ruto has already directed the new CS for Transport and Roads, Kipchumba Murkomen, to do an audit of the port facilities and establish what else has been stolen by the lords of impunity, state capture and conflict of interest, with a view of restoring the port to the people of Kenya.
He said the government's objective is to ensure that the port benefits Kenyans and not certain individuals.
Na tukitaka kuambia hawa watafute biashara ingine ya kufanya. Hii badali is not available to be given to private individuals. It's a natural resource for this country. Na ni ya Wakenya wote. Na kwa hivyo serikali ya William Ruto italinda bandari. Na bandari ni ya Wakenya. Na watu ya hapa pwani wapatiwe nafasi pia wafaidike kutoka bandari.
Gachagua also took the opportunity to address the drought situation in Kenya, further instructing county governments to find ways to start distributing food aid and water to families who continue to face severe drought.
It is absurd that we are discussing food insecurity in the 21st century. But as a government, we'll see a different Kenya in the next few months. It is our commitment. Meanwhile, I appeal to all the county governments through the Council of Governors to moot a coordinated plan to supply food from the surplus producing counties to the affected regions. I also appeal to them to consider the lifting of the cess for food on transit to the affected zones affected by drought.
Now, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has denounced President William Ruto's administration over the ongoing probe into extrajudicial killings. Speaking in Nairobi, Odinga condemned the probe, saying that it is a witch hunt against former DCI boss George Kinoti and that the investigations have become vindictive. He accused the president of abusing his authority by allegedly going after specific individuals and police officers. According to Odinga, President Ruto's animosity towards George Kinoti and the DCI dates back to before the elections. Additionally, Odinga requested that the Ruto administration invites foreign detectives to look into the unsolved murders of notable Kenyans like Chris Musando and Jacob Juma.
Tumelaani vikali yale ambayo yanaendelea wakati huu ya kulenga mtu mmoja ambaye alikuwa ni DCI bwana Kinoti, ambaye sasa lawama yote inalenga kwake. Na DCI hajapewa nafasi ya kujibu. Tunaona kama yale yote ambayo yanafanyika wakati huu ni kama ile kangaroo. Tumesema kuna Wakenya wengi ambayo wamepotea, wengine wameuawa kinyama mpaka wakati huu. Tumesema tunataka uchunguzi ifanyike, julikane ni akina nani walihusika. Tumengoja wale watu kama Jacob Juma ambaye alipigwa kinyama akawawa hapo katika barabara ya Ngong. Tumeongea vile vile juu ya bwana Musando ambaye alikuwa anafanya kazi kwa tume ya uchaguzi.
Raila Odinga also urged the president to concentrate on fulfilling his promises to Kenyans rather than raising taxes on them. Odinga advised Kenya Kwanza on how to deliver on their promises by increasing revenue collection points and closing corruption gaps.
Na vile tunaona wakati huu hatuna ile shirika ambayo inaweza kufanya kazi hii ambayo itaweza kufanya. Natakikana tutafute watu wengine ambao labda wametoka nje wajiingize kwa mambo kama haya, vile marehemu Nyayo walifanya, alileta Scotland Yard hapa kuchunguza kifo ya bwana Robert Ouko. Hiyo ndio itaridhisha Wakenya. Yale ambayo yanafanyika wakati huu ni sarakasi. Hakuna ukweli yote ambayo itatokea na yale mambo ambayo yanafanyika wakati huu.
Now, ODM nominated MP John Mbadi is the chairman of the Parliamentary Accounts Committee. Mbadi was elected unopposed and will be assisted by Butere MP Tindi Mwale. The committee is tasked with monitoring the financial expenditure of all government departments and institutions. He said that he was ready to hold the government accountable and perform its duties properly. Mbadi, who is also the chairman of the ODM party, said his committee will hold talks with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Intelligence Agency and the DCI. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto, good morning.
Okay, so let me tell you what's happening on the roads. It's Friday, and what do you expect? Thika Superhighway has begun doing the thing that it normally does. Traffic stretches from Outer Ring Road heading towards the city. Kiambu Road doing the thing. Limuru Road as well doing the thing. Jogoo Road heading towards town. It starts from Manyanja Road into Jogoo Road at the junction with Rabai Road. People coming from and Mumias Road, people coming from Buruburu onto Hamza all the way to City Stadium roundabout into Landis Road. It's busy. Langata Road is not so bad, only slight issues around Dame Estate, but that is next to Uhuru Gardens. But then after that, it moves. Mombasa Road is moving smoothly. The only issues are, of course, around the City Cabanas interchange, but then thereafter it goes well. Ngong Road, nothing major to report, just the issues at the lights. If there's anything big that we ought to talk about, let us know and we will talk about it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It is
This
the only
is
way
the
to start
situa-
Friday, the 4th day of November 2022. Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. We are live on SpiceFM, KTN Home, also live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. We have two guests in the studio. We will be telling you how you can own a home, but also looking at unlocking liquidity for affordable housing. It's a big project of this administration. Administration. You, as administrator, how can you own a home? The easy way out. But before we introduce our guests, City has the day's proverb.
Yes, people bring their own undoing through their tongue. This is a proverb from the country of Egypt, the land of the pharaohs.
People
bring their own undoing through their tongue.
Simple, straightforward.
Yes.
Simple.
Straightforward.
Our guest host today, Laban Cliff Ontario, got it from just the first go, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You
I added another twist into it. When a dog bites you, who do you blame? The dog or the master?
The dog bites
you. Be careful
you.
what you speak about.
Why do people keep insisting on asking if the dog bites you? How come they never ask if a cat bites you? Why only a dog?
Because
if you give a dog a bad name,
as journalists, we are always pointed out when you say, you know what, the news is always like if the dog bites you and not if you bite the dog. So that's how they use it to actually say that's what the news is, how the news is covered and angled. But anyway, well, it could be anything actually, but be careful what you speak about.
Our two guests from the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company are here. Eric Wambua is a finance manager, and the head of internal audit is Olive Gitau. Olive and Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Make yourselves comfortable.
Thank you.
It's going to be a smooth ride. Sure. Eric, that proverb, do you relate? What's your interpretation of it?
My interpretation of the proverb is that I think we need to be careful every time about what we say. The tongue, of course, we are told that it's the smallest part of the body at times and it doesn't have muscles, but it can cause serious issues. So I think it's all about us being careful about what we say and understanding that we can hurt people and make people happy by our words.
Olive, you must have a different perspective.
I don't think it's different. It's generally the same. You know, I've actually been doing a course on parenting for teens. And one of the main things they talk about is, as a parent, what you say has a very big effect on your children. So the tongue definitely will have a big effect on you. and on those whom you are relating with around you. Yes, definitely.
Be careful what you do.
Exactly, and I'll call it also on the timing. Maybe what you said, perhaps the effect would have been different if you said it at a later date or earlier. So the timing of what you say really matters. So I'll add that to the thanks. That proverb actually hits home.
Oh, very.
In very many ways.
Very,
Very, very many ways. We've been talking about Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company for a couple of weeks now and saying this was a brilliant idea mooted a couple of years ago, brought to life, and it's at that point now of takeoff where many people are benefiting and to benefit from it. But because people don't believe us sometimes, Olive, just tell the people, who is KMRC, how did you come to being, and what do you do?
Okay, thank you, Eric. So KMRC is a non-deposit taking financial institution that is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. So it was incorporated in 2018. That's when the company was formed. But in terms of operations, we began in 2020 after we got our license from the Central Bank. And from then, what we have been doing as a KMRC is to source for funding so that we can be able to provide affordability and accessibility of funds to Kenyans who want to purchase or construct a home. So for us, that is our mandate. We say we are a private sector-led institution with a public purpose.
Okay.
Because owning a home is for everybody. Yes, it is for you, for me, for the common mwananchi. It's everybody needs to own a decent home. So we operate from what we call the demand side, the side of you and me who want to access a home. How do we get that funding available and accessible and affordable? So what I call the conversation today is unlocking. So how do we open up that funding to the Kenyans so that they can be able to access a home?
Okay.
Yes.
Eric, so the way that somebody would then take advantage of KMRC is by going to their bank or their SACCO and asking for a KMRC funded home loan, right? So now, from that point, whose money am I borrowing? Am I borrowing the SACCO's money? Am I borrowing KMRC money? How does KMRC come into play when I am talking to my SACCO about owning a home?
Thank you, Eric. So when you go to your SACCO or your bank, at that particular time, you are actually borrowing the SACCO or the bank's money. KMRC will come in to refinance the mortgage or the loan that you have actually accessed. So ideally what we are saying is that because the issue that came up was the unavailability of long-term funding by these PMLs. So then that was the idea behind the formation of the institution, so that then once you access the funding, we can provide assurance to these PMLs that there's a source of long-term liquidity at KMRC. So you fund Kenyans and give them long-term mortgages and then come for the long-term liquidity from KMRC. So you will, at that particular time, you will borrow the SACCO or the bank money, but then once they have a portfolio of loans that they feel needs refinancing, then they'll come for additional liquidity from KMRC and will give them that money for additional lendings to Kenyans.
Give them? What does that mean?
As in,
so
now,
from you to them is free money?
No. It's, of course, it's not free money. We have accessed funding. Given that we are serving a public agenda, the government is accessing concessional funding on behalf of KMRC. So the government will lend to us, and then we shall lend to these PMLs. But then because it is concessional funding, we are also lending to them concessionally. And ideally, we expect them to extend that benefit to Kenyans.
Good talk. Good talk. Just unpack it a little bit.
Yes.
When you say government is accessing funds, just explain, not necessarily where, but what is unique about the funding that the government is sourcing, where they source it from, and then all the CDPU, HIF, all these things that you're saying, PMLWZ, all these things now, yes, you just unpack them slowly so that we can understand, because it sounds like a good thing, but I want to understand everything.
You want to understand everything.
Please.
Okay, that's why we are here.
Yes.
So, ideally, for you to get long-term funding, we needed assurance. So what the government did after formation of KMRC, and because it's serving a public agenda, there was need initially for access of a long-term pool of funds. So then the government moved into international DFIs. DFIs are development finance institutions. Yes. Now, those DFIs will only lend to the government in foreign currency.
Why DFIs? What is unique about them?
DFIs, they are development finance institutions. So housing is about development.
So what is the benefit of borrowing from a DFI?
When you borrow from a DFI, and that is the World Bank and the African Development Bank, the money is concessional, so the rates are a little bit lower.
So interest rate is lower.
Yes, interest rate is lower because you are lending to government.
Okay, how low? 1%, 2%, 0.5%?
Okay, so the loan to government is actually negotiated because there's an interest rate.
It's negotiated.
Exactly. Okay. But then the government is lending to us at single digit, which is around 4.5%. And then we shall only lend to these PMLs at around 5% to 5.6%, depending on our source of funding. Because remember, besides the concessional funding, we also access bond markets from the capital market.
Thank you.
Yes.
Carry on.
So the money then to the financial institution, you're calling them PML?
Yes, that is the primary mortgage lenders. And these are the institutions that will primarily serve Kenyans. So
this is my
it's
bank
where
or my circle.
Exactly. It's where all of us can walk into to access a mortgage.
So you lend to them at about 5.5%.
5.6, yes.
And they should lend to us at?
No, they should lend to you at single digit. And that is because depending on your...
In my books, 6.2 is double digit.
6.2 is single digit. Okay. So the only double digit is not from 10.
Okay.
But we have been pushing these institutions to lend to you at single digit. So that then depending on your risk profile, then they will be able to load in any administrative costs and then the risk margin, but then it has to be single digit. And we've seen them lend from 7% to around 9.5%.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, this is a separate package from what they normally have.
Yes,
what
it is.
the financial institution, the primary mortgage lender, they already have their own mortgage products.
Yes.
Which are, of course, above single digits.
Yes.
And then you go in there and you have this other product that is below single digit. Well, that is below double digit. What will make them give you this one that is cheaper? What will make them give me this cheaper loan as opposed to their other mortgage, which is at 14%?
It is because of the reliance on short-term deposits. And that is, when they are giving you their own money, they are relying on short-term deposits. That's where you and I have actually deposited money into these institutions. And it is because of the uncertainty of the access to long-term funding. But you see, when the PML or the bank or the SACCO has assurance that I actually have access to a long-term source of funding that is fixed for the tenor of the loan, then it will be easy for them to increase the number of mortgages to Kenyans.
Yes, and I think just to add also is that KMRC has shareholders, and one of the shareholders is government, and the banks and SACCOs. They are a key shareholder in KMRC. Now, the lending model for KMRC is that we lend to our shareholders. Currently, we have 8 commercial banks, 1 microfinance bank, and 11 SACCOs. Now, those institutions are the ones who are accessing our funding. By the fact that they have invested and have a shareholding in KMRC, they will want to utilize our money and to use that product, to offer that product to the Kenyans because they have a stake. And part of that is that they realize that the public purpose of KMRC is to address the needs of their customers. So whilst they have the market rate product, they also have these other customers who they also need to meet their needs, and that they can be able to access that funding from KMRC.
I've been listening keenly. Olive and Eric, it's good to have you here, and especially just bringing to life something that maybe we discussed off air, and something I'm very passionate about, which is, of course, affordable housing. And you spoke in your role about, being a mom to a teen and just taking yourself out for the cause. I feel like, even as a father, I think the only gift I can give to my boys and girls, it's the house. ensuring have a home. Let's go back to food, shelter, and clothing. I think my wife is very good on the rest, but the shelter, I really want to take advantage of that. And I recently traveled to the UK, and seeing that the friends out there are actually getting loans at 2%, 3%. Do you want to comment on that? Okay, I'll come to that. And then you're saying that, okay, this is actually, it's interesting that, you can actually get loans to, here the banks are actually asking for 12%. If you go in, 12%, but no, 13%, 12%, done.
No, 11.
It's like they're dangling. Like, no, they're 11.999.
Really I mean, by the time you do the maths and you add this and that,
are you ready for
and the charges and what have you, that thing goes beyond the percentages you're talking about.
So, and I'm gonna bring that up because as a business journalist, you'd rather speak on facts, right? You if you're accessing a mortgage, and I'm just trying to, and of course, trying to compare apples and oranges if I'm mentioning about UK, but it's true. There are folks who access loans out there at 2-3%, and in fact, what they told me is that as we go along and how the economy performs, you can actually renegotiate. After a few years, you renegotiate with your. We are
told the same thing here, that you can renegotiate.
Can you renegotiate?
I said we are told.
So here goes. To get a mortgage in Kenya, what do you need? Number one, if you're employed, you need your pay slips, of course. You need a letter from employer confirming your employment status. You need your bank statements for at least 1 year. You need a copy of your ID, copy of a passport, or copy of a passport and pay certificate. Open a mortgage savings account, 3 passport photos, sale agreement, and a copy of the title. That is if you're an employed person. Now, if you're buying off plan as well, construction requirements, this is approved building plans, approved structural drawings, priced bill of quantities, BQs as National Construction Certificate, NEMA certificate, and profile. So what KMRC is doing is music to my ears because you're just trying to make it easier. Now, I've read all that. This is like 10 requirements. I've already put him off. Yeah. Now, what is talking about the additional costs? Stamp duty. You're going to pay for the negotiation of the loan. You're going to pay a figure on that. So this is just the additional costs.
There'll be some insurance.
Yes, by the way.
Which you never really understand how it works, but you'll pay for it.
So, guys, you're at the core of it. But then, me being a dad and ensuring that you can help me own a home for my family, which I feel is a basic need. Okay. Then how do you make it easier for me to actually own this house? Yes, we're getting it at single digits now. We're talking about documentation. We're talking about the additional costs that might not be on the percentages, and just trying to make it easier for your shareholders and telling them, okay, guys, look here. There's an agenda of the government to actually ensure that we can have affordable housing. Yeah. But is this affordable housing really affordable? That's my question to you.
Yes, affordable is actually affordable. You will find that what we call a criteria. You've listed a whole list of requirements. And as KMRC, we also have like a criteria that we offer the PMLs, the primary mortgage lenders, the banks and the SACCOs, who they should be able to lend to and what they require. Now, you will find one of the funding criteria we've given them is that they can be able to lend up to 105%. 105% means that if a house you're buying it or you're constructing it at, let's say, 5 million, and then there are those additional costs that come with purchase or constructing that house, such as valuation, costs, or legal fees.
Yep.
The additional 5% on the 100 is supposed to take care of those additional costs. And of course, it is based now on a certain considerations that house is going to be insured. Now, City Muga has said he doesn't understand how the insurance works. So usually...
No, I actually don't.
about witness. Maybe if I can just put out on the insurance. I mean, it's in case of in case of death, in case of inability, that insurance will actually come in and take out the loan.
Yes, it does.
And
about
you
witness
have
to that.
testimonies from people.
Yes.
Well, usually if they're dead, they can't actually testify. But
their families will testify.
Their families will. And speaking of which, I mentioned about it's a home.
Yes.
It's really not a house. It's a home,
It's a
right?
home, actually. Yeah.
Should perhaps the one to mortgage, for instance, or pass on, the house is literally transferred to the next of kin, and this, of course, will be your family, right? So that insurance kicks in. The question is when it's negotiated, when it's there, you're like, why is this thing being charged on this house? But I mean, taking up a home, say for instance, 5, 10 million, 20 million, and then knowing that if you're off, if you're even not even off payroll, I think it's in case of death, right? The insurance only covers in case of death,
not
even
off,
disability, even disability,
yes,
right?
Yes. Yeah.
So.
They have
City,
actually
please
introduced more, even additional.
Ensure you take up and there's even another one, fire.
Yeah, even loss of income. Yeah.
There's even for fire. There's fire insurance. I don't know if it covers it. Gosh, this fine print. I know it's a whole thing at the back. You need to look at it.
For a building, it covers fire, Laban.
No. For this particular one, so you're talking about mortgage on that. So you need to take another one that covers fire, because I think that's separate. Maybe if I'm mixing it up. So there's the insurance.
You're given
for
a
the
slew
mortgage.
of things and you're told,
yes,
kuna hii, kuna hii, unaweza kuongeza hii, mtoto akivunja kikombe.
Exactly, hivyo.
You keep adding things.
Yes.
I want to ask about, so there's obviously what you're saying, that government, which owns KMRC, banks, which also own KMRC, and SACCOs, which also own KMRC, have come together.
Yes.
So government goes and gets a concessional loan from these DFIs.
Mm-hmm.
DFIs give them money. And then the government, which is part shareholder of KMRC, lends money to KMRC. And then KMRC, which is partly owned by these SACCOs and banks, lends money to the SACCOs and banks. And then the SACCOs and banks lend money to me.
And to
you can see my question.
Yes.
So add on to Eric's, it starts at 4%, it goes at 5%.
It comes to me at 7%.
It comes to me at 7%.
Even
it comes to another one at 9%.
Up to 9%.
What
can you remove from the money that came to the government from the World Bank that was at 3%? How can you make it as close to 3% as possible for me?
Okay, so the KMRC business model is not made to compete with the banks.
Mm.
We are made to complement the banks, and therefore, yes, and SACCOs, of course, and therefore, going by the flow of funds, because ideally today KMRC cannot access money from these DFIs. DFIs, or the development finance institutions, have to lend to government, to sovereign states.
Mm.
And further, the beauty about the government borrowing is that they will take on the foreign exchange risk, which is the risk of converting this foreign currency to local currency. Mm-hmm. And so when they are lending to KMRC, it is actually in local currency. It is in Kenya shillings. And because of that assurance that we are getting the money in Kenya shillings and we'll pay it back in Kenya shillings, that's why we are able to extend a fixed rate, so that even if it's for 25 years, you can rest assured that that rate will not change. And it's actually part of affordability, because what the biggest issue about affordability is long-term or short-term loans. So when you lengthen the tenor, it actually becomes far much more affordable. Now, so that handles the issue of the government to KMRC.
Okay.
For KMRC to these institutions, you want to complement whatever they are doing, because by the time KMRC was being formed, it was because at that particular time we had around, which is still the case, around 27,000 mortgages. Mm-hmm. So the question was, what is the problem? Why don't Kenyans want to access mortgages? Mm. And the biggest issue then was access to long-term funds. So it's not that these institutions do not actually have funding. They do, but it is very short-term. So KMRC came in to complement the bank, so that then you assure them, lend to Eric for whatever tenor, and we can assure you that this money will come back to you. And that's why we've actually seen the movement of interest rates from then. There was a time it was even 15%. So the fact that it's coming down to single digit, it means that as we proceed, it will actually keep coming coming down.
So there's
So as much as you may want to reduce the flow of funds, each and every
stage.
each and every stakeholder has a role to play in that.
I understand you all that. But you know, my issue is I'm looking at the spread between the money coming in from the DFI and the money getting to the bank and then the money getting to the end mortgage borrower. It's about a 3%, in some cases 6% difference. How between the government receiving money from a DFI at about, let's say, 3% and KMRC giving to the PML at about 4%, why must it be a 1 to 2% difference? Why can't you make it easier? Can't you forego some of that?
Can't the interest rate be a fraction? What's the whole number?
Yes.
Okay, let's...
Because if you're looking at the amounts of money that we're talking about, and over the period, even if it's 0.5, it is still a lot of money. Anyway, please.
Okay, so you will find that the funding we are getting from the government through the development finance institutions, as Erica said, the government is bearing the foreign exchange risk of converting to Kenya shillings. Now, the rate they are giving us is the same rate that they're getting from the development finance institution, because the cost they have taken is the exchange. Now, for KMRC, our lending to the PMLs only takes care of administration costs. You will find that to provide accessibility and affordability of these funds, we have got to make it as cheap as possible. So KMRC as an institution is not per se profit making. Like our objective is not to make profit. Our objective is to provide affordable funding to the PMLs, the banks and SACCOs, and of course at the end to the end borrower. So even the margin that KMRC will put will just barely be for operational costs, which currently barely actually meets those costs. But then again, we are very cognizant that our public purpose is what drives us. And so we've got to make it as cheap as possible. So even the funding that we are giving the banks and SACCOs is very concessional. Long-term funding of up to 20 to 25 years at a rate of 5-6%, less than 6%, I don't think you can find that anywhere when you actually think about it. While you talk about the UK, 2%, 3%, their markets are different, the economy is different. The rates they are using is already a stable rate of the dollar or the pound or the euro, whichever it is. For, of course, us as a developing country and using our local currency, there are always those foreign exchange risks. So when you actually add up that foreign exchange risk and you convert it to a dollar rate, it will actually get yourself up to their 8, 9, or even 10%.
You're the expert, Olive. And I was comparing apples and oranges. But when we come back, I think that bit about, increasing the cap. So it's not only, folks who are maybe at an, because you lock that loan into like, if you're earning more or less, there's a figure there. How do you make it just open? I think for me, it's, yes, it's affordable, but also how do you just make it open? We're talking about 27,000 mortgages. I think we can double that.
We can increase it.
So when we come back, just I hope those requirements are now not restricted and maybe open them up to the mere mortals.
We are talking about unlocking the potential to affordable housing and liquidity for affordable housing. The Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company, which we've been talking about for a couple of weeks, they are in the studio. Eric Wambua, Finance Manager, and Olive Getao, Head Internal Audit, here with us. Let's take a break at 26 minutes to 8, reminding you what's happening from 10 a.m. today. Chief Justice Martha Koome will be launching the State of the Judiciary and Administration of Justice annual report from 10 a.m. at the Supreme Court grounds. The President, Dr. William Ruto, will be gracing the occasion, and you can follow proceedings of this live from your TV or online. Let's take that break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Enjoy Black November with Cold Stone Creamery Kenya. Get 2 Gotta Have It cups and 2 cake slices at only 1,500 Kenya shillings. And other amazing deals for you and your friends this November. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and enjoy creamy, smooth ice cream and deliciously crafted ice cream cakes. Ice cream is always a great idea.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, so let me tell you what's happening weather-wise. In Nairobi, expect a cloudy day, highs of 24. Mombasa, mostly sunny at 30. Malindi, also sunny at 30. Actually, Mombasa, light rains at 30. Malindi, sunny at 30. Kisumu, partly sunny at 26. Nakuru, partly sunny at 21. Nyeri, light rain at 21. Kakamega, sunny at 25. Eldoret, sunny at 23. Dar es Salaam, mostly sunny at 31. Kampala, light rain at 27. Lagos, light rain at 31. Kinshasa, mostly cloudy at 31. Johannesburg, mostly cloudy at 20. Paris, light rain at 18. New York, clear skies at 22. London is an alert for thunderstorms. Cloudy day at 12. Beijing, sunny at 14. Usual suspects not doing so badly off at 7:37 a.m. That is Thika Superhighway. The traffic starts past Survey coming towards town. Kiambu Road is also looking not so good because it starts from the DCI headquarters heading towards the interchange in Muthaiga, and then after that it clears, and then Ngara is busy into the Globe Cinema roundabout. University is also getting busy. Langata Road is not looking so bad today. Ngong Road is also not behaving so badly. Only the issue is at the junction where you get the Naivasha Road and James Gishuru intersections there. Because of the lights as well, it's busy. Jogoo Road, issues. Lunga Lunga Road, issue. North Airport Road in Embakasi, issues. Kangunda Road as well, as you join into Outer Ring Road, is also busy. But there's nothing major we are reporting. It's only the usual traffic. If there's anything, let us know on SpiceFM KE. The conversation continues, unlocking liquidity for affordable housing with the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. Eric Wambua, the finance manager, and Olive Getao, head of internal audit, are our guests. Eric Latif and CT Muga, and our guest host today, Laban Clifford Serio. So, Olive, Laban was asking this question there. There's an income cap to who qualifies to borrow money through the KMRC home loans. What is that cap and why was it placed?
Okay, so you will find that through the population census, the government of Kenya collects a lot of information about Kenyans, about you and me, about where we live, what we earn, the house we live in, is it rented or is it owned?
It's called intelligence.
Yes. Yes. And so one of the main areas that they actually came up with in terms of now analysis of the data that they collected is that a majority of the Kenyans are within the income group of earning 150,000 and below. That is either employed or in a business, you're owning a business, you're running your own thing. So you'll find that for affordable housing, the income cap that has been provided to access the KMRC product of affordable housing is 150,000. Your income, either through employment or through running your own business, your consistent income on a monthly basis should not be more than 150,000. So
gross or net?
Okay, let's say gross.
Okay.
Let's say gross. Because what you'll find is that the financial institution, the bank or the SACCO, will ask you to provide them a document that shows your consistent income on a monthly basis. So it could be your payslip, it could be your M-Pesa statement that shows how your income comes in. And from that, if you're within that income group of 150 and below, then you can easily, you will actually, you are the target group for this funding. And it's because we are actually targeting the majority of the Kenyans. We are not targeting the likes of Laban.
No, why are you mentioning my name? These two who are here this morning.
Yes, so we are targeting the...
So it's a vast majority according to the census data.
Exactly.
People earn below 100,000 shillings. So even stretching it to 150,000 shillings.
Yes, yeah.
And this is a consistent monthly income.
Yes.
Now, it's consistently below 150, not necessarily it's consistent at a fixed figure, right?
Yes, yes.
I like that you can use M-Pesa.
If I go to my bank and I show that, there's 1 month I get 15,000, another month I get 70,000, another month I get 120, another one I get 0. But at least the major thing is I never get above 150.
Yes.
I qualify.
Yes, you will qualify.
So it doesn't have to be, you have a 75 fixed.
No, it doesn't have to be a specific figure because, we say that the credit risk is borne by the financial institution.
Okay.
They're the ones who will assess your ability to pay.
Okay.
So depending on now your level of income and how frequent it is coming, then they will determine and be able to tell you, okay, with your 15 now, 45 then, 20 tomorrow, we can be able to give you should be able to access 4.5 as opposed to 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like, and Erica, what you said is, spot on, to be honest, that we'll actually need to actually push on and make sure that we can, tip the needle a bit higher, because the idea is actually to make sure that people can have a home. And there's a whole dignity to it. And I think President Ruto mentioned it, I think, during the launch of the affordable housing as well in Kibera. It's dignity and trying to really ensure that these folks and families and couples can actually have a roof over their head and saying that what, after 5, 10, 20 years
which they own,
which they own,
yes. That's really I think it's if you could just do away with all this the fine prints, there's some numbers there that perhaps maybe could be.
This fine print thing has really got you up.
No, because you see, so we're talking about the figure at a larger extent, and I think as you're doing the member education and of course to your clientele and to the board members, I think there needs to be a further conversation, and maybe that's the reason why we're here at Spice, is to make sure that people understand that yes, you're going in to get this facility, but this is what you need. Like you see now what we're talking about the insurance. I mean, I've told City, I'm a witness that the insurance really helps in case of disability and death. That house actually is extended to your kin and next of kin, and it's really important that for me, I'm looking at that whole at the back. It's a whole document that you need to really sign, but the hidden cost, quote hidden, because it's not really hidden. It's just that people never take time to read them. But I think what KMRC is doing is really spot on, and let's take the numbers.
I want to ask
what's the target apart from the 27,000? Sorry, I interrupted you. Apart from the 27,000, is there like a target into how many mortgage facilities you need to get out there? Are we leaving that open to your? partners?
Of course, it's for now. Of course, we have a target. I mean, you can't get into a market without a target. So, of course, we are hoping to grow the mortgage book or the lending towards affordable housing by close to 30,000. So it's more like doubling what we have now. And I believe we can be able to achieve that. Because what we keep saying is anyone should own a decent home. And decent is just a functional home. You don't need to think about a dream home with 5, 6, 7 bedrooms. 1, 2, 3, depending on the kind of an individual, whether you have a family, whether you're by yourself. You should be able to benefit from knowing that I am paying some money towards my residence. I mean, of course, we are not negating the benefit that landlords give to the economy. There's that market. But still, you and me should be able to own a decent home. Yes, and, be able to manage our cash flows better, be able to manage our standards of living better.
There's something that you mentioned with regards to the interest rates, and you talked about costs, operating costs. I'm a bit skeptical about that term. And the reason why I'm skeptical is because every time I look at the AGMs that banks have and I listen to the amounts that they pronounce as profits.
Okay.
And
then administrative costs.
Yes, and this keeps coming up. Administrative costs, surely, must they make billions of shillings every year, even when you have COVID and when you don't have? Is it not possible to make less so that this very thing we're saying is actually possible? Because it seems to me that the competition with some of the big banks is who can make more billions and or who can compete with Safaricom, because that seems to be it. So when you talk about operating costs, it flies in the face of all this, because I'm thinking, what operating costs are you talking about?
Okay. Let me try and break it down a bit, and then Eric will chip in. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which apply to all of us globally, talk about sustainability. And you will find that that's why KMRC is here, is to address one of the sustainability goals on sustainable cities and communities. Now, you will find that all of these banks and circles have actually spoken themselves towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And so that is why they have come in as shareholders and as partners with KMRC, because they know they have a purpose to address decent homes and affordable housing as one of the areas of sustainability. That is one. Now, two, the same banks have owners who are shareholders, who is either you or me, because some of them are listed in the in the securities exchange. Some of the other owners, of course, are international owners. Now, an owner having put their money in those institutions will definitely require a return. And that is why you will find that the bank will have the two products now. They will have their market-based product that is looking at making as much return as possible towards their shareholders. And at the same time, they realize that they have a duty for sustainability in their economy, and they have partnered with KMRC to make sure that they provide that affordable funding so that other Kenyans can be able to access a home. So they have those two products. I know they're in competition with each other, but that is why we are here. We're having this conversation so that we educate each other and the Kenyans out there, that they know that there's a product. So even when they go to the financial institution, they say, we know you have a KMRC product. That is the one I'm looking for. So that it is more what we call demand driven. It is driven by you and me who want that home.
We walk in and say, I want this one.
Yes, yes, exactly.
How many have walked in so far and said they want a KMRC home loan?
From
your partners?
From partners, quite a number, because currently we have 9 banks and circles that we have lent to. So we have lent to 4 circles and 5 commercial banks. Now, from those institutions, we have seen new, because the issue now we are looking at is new mortgages and new requests that have been being asked and that have been dispensed. it is definitely towards, it's more than 500, which is a beginning point, considering especially for SACCOs who previously were not lending long-term. SACCOs have traditionally played in the short-term lending products. So KMRC has had to upskill and capacity build them to make sure that they offer a mortgage product, which is either 10, 15, 20 to 25 years, depending on what the individual is requesting for. So with a SACCO that has just begun lending, you will find that we have SACCOs that have about 100 already mortgages that they are offering. That is new in a market where we just started lending in 2021. So it is a stride that we are making. And of course, for the banks, previously they have been lending. And so for them, it is just a new niche that they are opening up, because it was previously, middle to high end income. But now we are now moving the niche now to the affordable segment, to the lower, lower middle to low income.
Do you have an average of the kind of repayments per month, the principal and what the installments that people are paying per bank? So we can compare and say, because we are saying rent yako ni keja yako, what's the average amount of money that the people in this income bracket are paying as rent, and is that what they are then paying today as mortgage, those that have taken?
Yeah, so we do a monthly. There's a monthly return from the banks and SACCOs that confirm that you give us this amount of money for these loans, and these are the monthly repayments. But you see, ultimately, the repayment that you will make monthly is actually dependent on the principal amount that you borrowed, and more importantly, the tenor. We could both of us take 5 million shillings today, but if I take it for 10 years and you take it for 20, you'll actually pay far much less than myself. So what we are telling Kenyans is that whatever today you are paying as your rent, you could actually convert it to a mortgage. You could walk into a bank today or a SACCO and tell them, I am paying a monthly rent of 20,000 shillings. What is the value of house can I access? And then based on the documentation that they'll need from you, they'll tell you can actually access this amount of money for this period of time. So it is very much dependent on the principal amount that you'll borrow, or the loan amount, and then more importantly, the tenor. And that's why it's very good for people to access some of these facilities as soon as you can, because you'll have a longer repayment period, and therefore your repayment will be shorter. And remember, your standard of living will actually continue increasing over a period of time. So it basically means that 10 years from today, you'll actually not be where you are today. But if you committed a 15 or 20,000 shilling mortgage, then it means that you'll actually have much more income sometime in the future.
Is there a limit to the number of home loans that one can take?
There's really no limit. It's all determined by your affordability. So if you can afford...
So if somebody comes with a pay slip and they take a loan, and then they come with their business statements and they take another loan, that's okay.
Yes, but for KMRC, it has to be owner-occupier. So at least we need to confirm that you're actually buying this house for you to stay there. Otherwise, we don't want to facilitate you to do business.
That's a very good line.
Yeah.
I have to give credit to your strategic partners. I mean, I see the World Bank Group under the International Finance Corporation, the African Development Bank. I think the ambition of the goal is really front line and center line in terms of it's really at the core. Why I'm saying that is because you could actually say, oh, wait a minute, I could actually buy this apartment and maybe rent it out. So I think that what you're trying to limit there is people taking advantage of the the offers you're giving, and then using that now to as a cash cow.
Somebody's asking, so does KMRC also help to finance developers? Because if you're not dealing with the supply of the houses, then
you will find that we are partnering with developers from the demand side, where we provide them that, it's like an assurance that the end purchaser, the person who will purchase that house, will be there, will get funding to actually buy that house.
Guaranteed offtake.
Yes, guaranteed offtake, because you'll find that a developer puts up houses and stays there for 5 years looking for a buyer. And there are no buyers coming. You see 40% bought out, still 60% is waiting. So what we are telling the developers is we are going to partner with you to make sure that that individual who wants to buy and has been feeling that they cannot access that funding, that there is that funding, and they should be able to access a home, and they should be able to get a place and be able to take off what they have put up. And even as we partner with them like that, even in continuous conversations, because we realize whilst we are operating on the demand side of the end borrower, we cannot operate in isolation. We've got to work together with the supply, because part of the other challenge that was coming up is that there was no sufficient supply. So working together with government and private developers to make sure that they put up those houses so that the end borrower is able to access. So these are conversations we are having continuously. We held our first affordable housing conference in 2021. We have one coming up this month, end of this month. And we are bringing together stakeholders, from developers to the financiers, to professionals. I think conversations with architects and quantity surveyors and all those professionals to try and have a discussion on how can we make affordable housing more affordable and actually take off in this space, so that borrowers have something to buy. And even as they are buying, that what they're purchasing is quality, and quality that is affordable, and that also offers those who are supplying an honest return. Maybe not what the city calls excess returns, all those billions.
Exorbitant.
Yes, but it is a reasonable return that actually helps makes them continue providing more affordable homes.
What is affordable though? Do you have a figure like at KMRC? Do you know when you talk about affordable housing, you mean house from between this and maximum of?
Yes. So our funding is providing homes that are valued at 6 million and below. That is affordable homes within Nairobi.
City doesn't seem.
Wait, they are there. City. Those homes are there. So in Nairobi and the metropolis of Nairobi, we have Kiambu, Kajiado, and Machakos County. So the value of the affordable homes has been capped at 6 million. Now, any other town across the country, the value has been capped at 5 million. Now, we have these homes. Right now, you go to Ruaka or you go to Athi River.
We were talking to Centum Real Estate, and they have homes at 4.
There you go.
3-4 million in Kasarani.
There you go. I mean, they are there. The homes are there. From our website, www.kmrc.co.ke, on the resource center, we have a catalog where we have listed many providers or upcoming home houses suppliers who are putting up affordable homes. They are there in different counties in Kenya. Yep. So from Nairobi to the environs and to other counties across Kenya. So the houses are there.
So essentially, a house becomes affordable because, one, what you earn, and also, well, maybe disposable income, but what also the length of time that you are given to repay.
To repay, exactly.
So you can pay in small bite sizes over a long period of time.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And you afford to actually own a 6 million shilling house.
Yes, that is what makes it possible to.
Exactly.
Because the figure 6 million is daunting.
I'm looking at the catalog that you've talked about. Yes, actually on kmrc.co.ke, houses at 3.9, 6.5 in King Square, and many of them 1.8 million, even apartments in Kisumu.
Yeah.
And they are affordable. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
As you leave, tell us about the Affordable Housing Conference. Is it open to, can we walk in, just come
to mere mortals like
that to scare hii mambo ya nyumba
iko namna gani na hizo nyumba ziko wapi
na tunaweza pewa? Or is that information that you're still working on?
For now, of course, there's a target it will be both physical and virtual. So we'll be live streaming the conference. So of course, for any Kenyan who would like to follow up, we will share the live streaming link so that they can be able to have that conversation with us. Of course, now for the physical attendees, we have now our various stakeholders that I had mentioned, from developers to financial institutions to the government, policymakers, because we realize in the affordable housing space, we've got to partner with government to make sure that the incentives and the policy around affordable housing is available and actually agrees in terms of different stakeholders.
Right.
Yes.
Asante sana.
Guys, good job.
Olive Getao is the head of internal audit, and Eric Wambua is the finance manager at the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. Visit their website kmrc.co.ke. Rent yako inafaa kuwa keja yako. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto said Kenya will employ technology to roll out the universal healthcare program. Ruto said these will ensure efficiency, stop pilferage and secure access for all Kenyans, especially those at the bottom of the wealth pyramid. Ruto noted that it is time Africa supplemented rain-fed agriculture with irrigation to tame food shortage. And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua appealed to Kenyans to contribute food for their starving fellow citizens as the government prepares a national food distribution exercise. Speaking in Mombasa, the DP revealed that President William Ruto will this weekend lead national distribution of food to thousands of Kenyans affected by the ongoing drought. This comes as Kenya is facing a prolonged drought owing to a 4-year dry spell that has hit over half of the counties.
Tuko na shida kubwa sana ya kiangazi. Ningetaka kuchukua nafasi hii kuuliza Wakenya wote pahali walipo, tukianzia with our development partners, the private sector, the county government, individual businessmen, we are making an appeal for you to contribute food and resources so that we can feed Kenyans who are suffering. This Saturday, His Excellency the President will lead the government in an awareness program of appealing for food and resources. He'll be the counties of Turkana and Samburu to distribute food and to make that appeal. And the rest of us will be all over the country making the same appeal so that no Kenyan can die from hunger, no Kenyan can suffer when other Kenyans have some surplus.
Already the government has allocated 2 billion shillings towards food distribution and to support other mitigation measures. It is estimated that over 4 million Kenyans have been affected by the drought and over 2.5 million livestock have died, although with the commencement of the short rains, the situation could ease in the near future. Now, Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua has blamed the mistreatment of Kenyan migrant workers in Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states to streamline recruitment agencies in Kenya. Mutua's sentiments come after he held talks with senior Saudi government officials, including his Ministry of Foreign Affairs counterpart Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud in Riyadh. The CS flew to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in a bid to address the plight of abused workers in the Gulf state. And the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition has unveiled Wafula Munyinyi as its flag bearer in the Bungoma senatorial by-election. Azimio leader Raila Odinga said the coalition settled on former Kanduyi MP, who is a member of the EPK party, and handed him the nomination certificate.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party will be fielding a candidate in the Bungoma senatorial by-elections scheduled for 8th December this year. Our candidate in that contest will be Honorable Wafula Munyinyi. Honorable Wafula Munyinyi has what it takes to win the Bungoma seat, and more importantly, he has a record of speaking out for the people of Kenya. Given the scenario unfolding in the country and emerging a one-man regime that is quickly turning its back on the Kenyans and their problems, the country will need seasoned fighters in all critical places.
The Bungoma senatorial seat was left vacant after Moses Wetangula vacated the seat following his appointment as the National Assembly Speaker. The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission is set to conduct the by-election on December 8th. On the same date, the Commission will also conduct by-elections in Olmasani, Kiomethana, Utawala, Mumias North and South Gem wards. The Chief Justice Martha Koome has urged judges to prioritize the hearing and determination of children-related cases that have been pending in the courts much longer than the required 6 months period. Koome directed courts across the country to observe the annual November Service Month on Children's Matters by promoting their rights. She said the progress aims to raise public awareness of children's rights and expedite their cases at all courthouses. The CJ added that they promote the multi-door approach to dispute resolution, in that cases of children in conflict with the law should be diverted at first instance. And the truce reached between Ethiopia's warring parties marks an encouraging and bold steps towards peace, but that reparations for the brutal conflict's main victims faced shall be fast-tracked. Volker Turk, who took over as the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights 2 weeks ago, said he hoped the breakthrough agreement signed Wednesday would help end the conflict that has claimed many lives, caused widespread displacement and untold suffering and ruin. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseta, good morning.
Okay, so it's 8 a.m. This is usually the peak traffic time, but today is a different kind of Friday because it's not looking so bad. In fact, Thika Superhighway has really improved, and it was bad earlier on where traffic was stretching to beyond Survey. Now it's come to not even reaching Utali and coming towards town. Jogoo Road is not looking bad at all. If you look at, no, it's still looking not so good, but if you look at Mombasa Road, it's not looking bad. Langata Road is not looking bad. If you look at Ngong Road is not looking bad at all. The only issues on Langata Road are Aerodrome Road joining Mombasa Road and Bagathi Way out towards the city mortuary roundabout. That's the only issue. Kangunda Road as well, not looking bad, and Outer Ring Road, not looking bad. If there's anything to talk about, let us know and we'll talk about it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. It is 7 minutes after 8. Good morning and welcome to Friday. If you're just joining us, happy Friday. It's the 4th of November 2022. Live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, online. We live stream the show on YouTube and Facebook. And we have the conversations on Twitter, on Instagram. We even share our clips on TikTok. We are everywhere. This is that kind of show. It's Eric Latif, CT Muga, and our guest host today, Laban Cliff on stereo. Our usual person, Nduoko, has had a week away. Let's see how she comes back next week. She'll be glowing. CT, what's up with the mic?
Nothing.
You're just adjusting yourself to the mic.
It's actually what's up with me.
Oh, what's up with you, City?
I'm just adjusting the mic.
Okay. All right. You have the day's proverb?
I do. People bring their own undoing through their tongue.
People bring their own undoing through their tongue.
And I added that twist to it. Through their tongue and also the timing.
Riyadh, the twist. Actually, the timing of the tongue.
The timing of what you say with the tongue.
The time of the movement. The timing.
The timing. It's not like a chameleon timing. How, when you unleash the tongue. It's very, very important.
I think the problem there is
your time.
or the speech, like, at what point you speak. So I'm like adding into the timing of it.
Okay. Now that we're talking about owning homes, let's also talk about owning pieces of land and, getting into areas where you can actually own land and own into a controlled development. Olive Real Estate presents Naserian Ridge Phase 3, a gated community and infrastructural development located 4 kilometers from the SGR substation at Nachu. Do you know where Nachu is, City?
I have absolutely no idea. Where is Nachu?
You know Suswa?
Yes.
You know
yes.
Ngong? You know Ngong, right?
I'm laughing because immediately the railway comes to mind. Yes.
Now, Laban knows because he's a rally driver and he's an off-road guy.
Backside,
Between Ngong and Suswa, there's a new road that's been developed.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's the road which is called?
Ngong Suswa Road.
Yes.
Okay? Now, somewhere in between is a place called Nachu, just not far from Ngong.
Yeah.
As you're just coming down the Ngong Hills. Beautiful, scenic. And that's where they have the Olive Real Estate.
Well, that place is
Naserian Ridge Phase 3.
I can actually see it in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
Yes. It is a beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place. Yeah. So just 500 meters from that Ngong Suswa Road at Nachu, you'll find these pieces of land. They provide freehold titles and beacons. It's in close proximity to schools, electricity and water. They are organizing a site visit on the 19th of November. To book your slot, just call 0704 30 30 30. 0704 30 30 30 or visit their website olivelimited.com. olivelimited.com. Okay, so it's been an interesting week, right?
Yes,
a lot
Rick.
have happened.
Oh my goodness.
Number one, out of 900, then to 300, then to 500, and then they were whittled down to 50 what? PSs that have been nominated.
51.
51 PSs nominated by the president.
Yes.
You know, in my other life, I actually served in that whole selection panel as a HR practitioner. And of course, the headhunter. And the headhunter, of course, we always like, let me ask you something.
Mulipatia nani kazi?
The selection panel. First of all, I think, the way private sector, by the way, there's some companies, like say, for instance, if you applied for the Big Four, and it happens a lot with the graduates, being at Strathmore.
Big Four is what exactly?
PricewaterhouseCoopers, Deloitte and Tush.
Those guys are called Big Four?
KPMG.
Those
so, of
four.
course, every accounting student or every business student, and of course, in my backyard, it's Strathmore, will say, you know what, I'm going to apply for a Big Four job. Now, all of you 10,000 folks apply from all these universities, but how many are selected? God knows, maybe even maximum 100 perhaps. But you know what other companies will do? They'll say, you know what, guys, just give us this. You see, the ones you did not select, give me those people. But because by the time they made it to the interviews,
your most successful
they are
rejects.
very good. So, find the likes of the blue chip companies coming after them. So I would speak to any PS who was on that list and were busy congratulating them for their nomination and making sure that they actually can make it to the panel because they actually made the cut. And I'd feel that if any serious employer and any serious person who's in the developmental world will actually look at that list again, because the people who made it to that list, the short list on the dailies, those guys are actually good at what they do. It's just that they could only take 50.
Laban, how do they arrive? So somebody who has seen it happen,
yes.
How do they arrive at this short list? How do they whittle down from 9,000 applicants to 500?
Eric, with your permission, can I just
add to the question?
How do you determine the selection panel?
The selection panel. Okay, so those are two questions.
Okay.
And I'll not speak, of course, on behalf of the Public Service Commission, but I'll speak on my, HR practice. Number one, it's a system.
I'm
still on that. Remember, when you're applying for this job, your CV needs to be, there's what they call, let me put it in layman terms, it's called like a machine-generated sort of a thing. By the time you shortlist, this is it's an internet sort of thing. Okay. They look at the job description, and they match it to the requirements. Now, your CV has to have aspects of the job that the system can easily pick up.
Okay.
Because they're using a system. There are all the systems, and they can actually go in and say, you know what, I'm looking for a news anchor, SpiceFM. What does a news anchor, SpiceFM need to have? Your qualities and all those things. They need to be on your CV.
so that the system picks up, so that when the HR manager looks at it and the headhunter is looking at the list of 5,000, they can just go to the system and tell me, you know what, I need somebody who has media advocacy, I need somebody who has, broadcast skills, and some tick.
So keywords. So those words must be on your
must
CV.
be on your CV.
Okay.
And then it just picks up. So maybe from 5,000 you whittle down to about maybe what? Maybe 1,000.
So
really,
that is algorithm.
Just wait.
Algorithms. That's well,
essentially, what Laban has just said, if I understand you correctly, is that how you prepare your CV is what gets you shortlisted.
How you prepare your CV, number one, yes. And how you also have your online presence. In fact, yesterday on the Headhunter show... Online presence, your LinkedIn profile, CT. I need to look at your LinkedIn profile.
Why?
Employers, headhunters, look at this gentleman called CT and say, you know what? Let me look at his experience.
If I'm not on LinkedIn, then
let me Google. If you're not on LinkedIn,
then I'm not getting that job.
No. Well, if at this day and age, I know
there's added advantage.
Your LinkedIn is your online CV. In fact, yesterday,
so I should go on to this LinkedIn.
They called it your digital currency. Your LinkedIn is your digital currency.
I see.
So people are going to say, the employer is going to be like, okay, let me look him up and then let's have a look at it. I'm talking about headhunters because you're looking at, these jobs. And for instance, a PS job is really one that you really want to make sure you get the right people. So anyway, there's that private sector. I was speaking about private sector. Now let's go to public service. Congratulations to all the PSs who got nominated to come on board. I mean, we've mentioned the likes of Charles Hinger, Dr. Chris Kipto, a fantastic brain in government. I mean, this is a gentleman who was actually a CEO of Trademark East Africa, which is one of the best developmental partners with the UK aid and US aid funding. And now he's going to be sitting at Treasury. So I believe that, in fact, for me, if I'd put my money on any ministry right now, it will actually be Treasury. Because now you have a former central bank governor and you have a fantastic economist,
former trade
a professor
PS.
CS, and you have a doctor PS. It's going to be quite interesting.
Bro, those things are tofauti.
No. I'm just saying, in terms of
at least Dr. Kipto has some knowledge.
There's some bit of
running the bureaucracy of government.
Let me explain why I'm saying what I am saying. Okay, academia, when it meets with the practicalities of political life and public service, believe me, they don't meet, they collide. There's a reality.
These guys have been through the trenches.
They have that, bro. Heading the central bank and being the minister for finance, two very different things. Two extremely different things. I'm simply saying this, not because the individuals that we're referring to do not meet the master. No, that's not what I'm saying. And I'm saying this specifically with reference to the place the economy finds itself in now and where we are at. It is not a walk in the park because the expectations from the citizenry will not be lowered. They are not going to give you a pass.
No.
Then they want solutions today, not tomorrow, today. So I'm simply saying it is an extremely difficult thing. And where you're right is those qualifications help. At least somebody has a background, somebody has a structure with
something that brings them to the
yes.
Okay. So the first thing that we've done is we've looked 9,000 CVs. They've been put through an algorithm which picks out their qualities of their CVs, and then they're shortlisted to 500. Those 500.
So I want to talk about something that you should not water down, and it's actually very serious, especially speaking to the headhunter people. These are the recruiters, basically. I'm basically a host and just asking them questions. There's something called the power of referrals, Eric. And I think in the work that you do, it's really how your boss speaks of you. I'll be like, you know what? I really worked with so-and-so, and I need you to have them on this team. And I think they're also part of the whole process, and maybe with the folks, what do you tell yourself, like people like Belio Kipsang, in education, people like Harry Kimtai in livestock? I feel like they did something good in the previous government, and by the fact that they were retained, it shows that somebody spoke highly of them. And to be honest, being PSs and having reapplied for the jobs, then they were considered, right? So forget the machines, forget the headhunters, that power referral and the beat about getting the job done. We're speaking about delivery. We're speaking about execution. We're speaking about loyalty. those are not things that maybe are on your CV, but those are things people speak about on your side. I know very good folks who actually applied. And of course, speaking of the chief of staff, friends, I know the current chief of staff maybe at, Kenyan, of course, it's public information, applied, for the job of PS. He's a fantastic technical assistant to the managing director. Of course, his boss was recommended to be cabinet secretary and was appointed as cabinet secretary. But he did not make it through the PS, right? But these are folks who are actually good at what they do.
So tie that into referrals.
So the referral, it is who, in whose mouth are you, and is somebody speaking about you at the highest level possible.
Okay. So not at the panel, it's beyond the panel. Because I'm looking at, for example, these interviews, the way they were conducted. The PSC broke itself down into 3 or 4 panels.
Yeah.
3 members per panel, giving each candidate 30 minutes to come in and speak. Now, we've talked about the way we've come down to 500. So, and then each of those 500 candidates just gets 30 minutes before 3 people in a panel. Let's assume that they are strangers to one another. The panelists are strangers to the candidates. So it's the first time that they are meeting.
Yeah.
And you're interviewing for the senior most job in public service in a state department. Take me through this thing that's going to make you be then shortlisted into 50.
So,
I mean, how do they get from that to 50 just by meeting somebody for 30 minutes?
That's a hard task, to be honest. And I saw a tweet actually by Dennis Itumbi saying that, there's a whole pushback about regional balance. So, I mean, look, we've spoken about machines, we've spoken about referrals, we've spoken about being headhunted. Now there's this issue about in a state office, it's not just about getting the right CVs. I know there's usually the bit about balance, and there's a bit of having to show that all communities are actually represented in government. So I would not wish that, I would not wish it away that, there's a whole, and then people have done the analysis and said, okay, how many people are from this region? How many people are from this region? How many people are from this region? Now, if you look at it in the, in development world, it should not matter. It should not matter where you're from. But in a government office,
so in this particular case, it does matter.
It does.
And that's why it was considered even in the shortlist.
Yes,
you made sure that in the shortlist you have people from across the country. Now, when they appear before the panel, is the first issue your home district, and then how you dressed, and whether you have answered the first 2 questions well. Or what is it that is going to make this person actually put them from the list of 500 to a list of, let's assume that the president was given a list of 100.
Yeah.
And from that 100, he chose his 50. Okay? How do you get to that 100?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't know. And in fact, if you notice the Public Service Commission, they have been quite, not very mean with information. I would say they've been, just giving us updates on the papers. These are the people who've been shortlisted, and there's additional. Remember, there was an additional list.
There was.
Do you remember the additional list?
An entire 100 people added to a list.
Yeah. In fact, as we speak, you can see the likes of Nixon Korir, Alfred Mutual. I mean, there are people talking about them. Like how did Nixon get shortlisted? Because they're in the amended, or it's in the amended list that came in.
No, but let me ask you this question. This is something that you understand. You most certainly understand it far better than I do. No, because I actually don't understand this process. But the thing that is swirling in my head with reference to this is you are talking about appointments, nominations in the public service by politicians. Okay? Everything we've mentioned so far, is that would you consider the things, the virtues and the qualities we're talking about, would you consider that to be their priority when they're considering these things? Because reality is, at the end of the day, with all the systems we speak of, political will trump all these things.
Yeah. Let me refer you to the interview by the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, at his home in Madeira. And this is something he was asked. He was like, why have you chosen to go to a different sort of folks? Now, the past administration relied a lot on the technocrats. You have the likes of people, say, for instance, you have a minister who worked at Google becoming your CS of ICT, for instance. But now you actually have a strategist who was working in the political office, now becoming the CS. So I'm just putting it out there. He said one thing, that was the undoing of the past administration. And I'm quoting the deputy president on this. Now, bringing into your point, remember we were speaking about loyalty? Now, if I look at the list from a journalistic perspective, I could actually put it as a reward for loyalists. Okay? When we're talking about Nixon career, I mean, the MP in Langata was running under UDA ticket, not getting the UDA ticket, and we said, you know what, don't worry, we'll still give you something as well. You're talking about CSs who ran for, women rep, who ran for governor and did not make it and were awarded. So I think there is, and this is not what I'm actually putting out there in terms of like the political will, indeed, but more than that, it's actually a loyalty to that,
the appointing
authority. That perhaps
see, this is my point, Laban, because we focus on the political aspect of it, and it exists, and it sometimes takes away the conversation about these individuals and their actual abilities and qualifications. Okay, because if you look at the choices, whoever is making those choices understands why they're making those choices. They may not necessarily tell you. So you can play a guessing game and you can become an analyst and give your view, but they have a very good reason. Now, politically speaking, it is simple and it's easy to justify a position by saying what someone previously did is what really it didn't work, blah, 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 blah. But my view on this particular subject is that we have never really ever moved fully, despite the new constitution that we have, the 2010 constitution, from the understanding that our presidency is like an absolute presidency. This 2010 constitution, yes, it exists. It's like it escorts the presidency along. But by and large, what the presidency says is it at the end of the day. Yes. And so long as that, in my opinion, is the view we hold. The Constitution doesn't hold that view. No. The Constitution says we are the ones who have the mandate and the right. Yes, but so long as we believe that, then even as we converse and we talk about the influences and rewarding loyalists, it is the norm in political regimes right around the world. It is not something that is unique to Kenya.
So then, City.
Yes.
Should we go through this whole charade of asking people to send applications, blah, 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 if the president is going to make the choice anyway, based on his own political considerations?
Yes.
He's not going to be making those considerations based on, I don't know, you worked for the Big Four, you didn't work for the Big Four, you worked on the Big Four. He's not making those considerations. He's looking at, how do you serve my interests?
Yes.
So should we go through that whole process then?
Yes, we should.
Why?
Because the very process that we are referring to shines a good spotlight on what it is you have that could serve his interest. Because from what Laban tells us, you go through a process and people get to know what you've done, what you can do, where you've been. Now, if I have an agenda, that information may not be at my fingertips. But in the interview process, if people have been given the mandate and said, look, this is what we're looking for, okay? It's not one thing. They must have this qualification because we need them to understand what they're doing. Then they must have this. Then the loyalty factor. You see, my point is loyalty plays a role, yes. But in speaking about it, we forget that some of these individuals, if not all of them, may actually be able to do what they're supposed to do.
Qualified, that is, it's fine.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, my argument is that there is nothing in this process by the PSC that has actually tested whether they're qualified or how good they would be at their job. Nothing. From the first one, 9,000 people apply, and in 2 weeks' time, you've broken it down to 400, and then you add to another 100, you bring to 500, and then you tell them, go, enter that room and meet 3 people for 30 minutes and come out, and I'm going to determine that you can actually... Do you know the job of a PS? The importance. We've talked about the importance of a PS is the power of the pen.
Yep. They actually
in fact,
are
is not even the
accounting. They are the accounting authority.
This is the person whose signature will go onto a piece of paper and billions of shillings will be spent.
Yep, I agree.
Billions of shillings burst by their signature. You tell me that somebody can come into a room 30 minutes You are a stranger. Yeah, Mr. Laban, you are from which county? Very good. So where have you worked before? What can you tell us about, I see you've been doing Headhunter show. What can you tell us about headhunting in this 30 minutes? Do you have any question for us?
Done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Laban.
It's
and then that is enough to actually tell.
I mean, if I went through the same process, to be honest, I'd be, and especially after receiving the congratulatory messages, because people have seen your name on the papers and then you've gone and faced the panel and you're not successful. But I'd still insist, to any folks out there who are looking to headhunt, I think that's a perfect list to look out for. There are really good folks out there you need to look at. But anyway, I want to advise.
I'm telling the people that you're telling, ignore that list.
No.
Let me tell you why I'm saying ignore that list.
Yeah.
Those that were shortlisted to 500,
yes,
and they went into those rooms and they walked out, nothing. You will not get any information from the PSC that tells you, this person feedback is actually very good.
No, usually, no. I'm sure there will be feedback.
From
Trust
who?
me, there'll be feedback.
Who will the feedback be given to?
I'm sure. I'm not.
Right, Laban, you're sure? We also want to be sure.
To the folk. It happens during the interview. Thank you for attending the interview today. I'll be sorry. We regret to inform, even if it's machine generated, we regret to inform you that you are not successful.
Feedback. Precisely, that's not feedback. That's not feedback.
At least
you're telling somebody in the private sector, if you're looking for a good person who can be an administrator in your office, who could be a CEO, because a PS is a CEO, who could be a CEO for your organization. Look at this list. There's nothing that the PSC will give you from that list. They'll not tell you these are their competencies. This is what they are good at. They will have nothing. They did not. One interview for 30 minutes does not produce anything.
Gentlemen,
Nothing
speaking about hiring, I just need to bring us up to see some breaking news. Twitter employees have just found out that they're going through a downsizing process. We've had, of course, Twitter was bought out by Elon Musk, and there's a whole lot of movement going there. So there's a note there from actually the office. Twitter.
Twitter.
The richest man in the world.
Elon Musk bought Twitter. Have you been living in a rock city?
No. I live in this country. Anyway, I thought it was Bill Gates. What happened?
No. So Twitter's bought by Elon Musk, and of course he actually put out a note there that you're going to be paying about $8, which is equivalent to about $800.
The richest man in the world right now is called Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, arguably the richest man, because we don't have the latest data from.
Anyway, please go on. Fine.
So Twitter, of course, that's Twitter. Employees have found out today that in an effort, and this is a message actually coming in from the Twitter global team, of course not signed by anyone in particular, but it says, in an effort to place Twitter on a healthy path, we'll grow through the difficult process of reducing our global workforce. On Friday, that's today, we recognize that this will impact a number of individuals who've made valuable contributions to Twitter, but this action is unfortunately necessary to ensure that the company's success moving forward. Now, given the nature of our distributed workforce and the desire to inform impacted individuals as quickly as possible, communications of this process will take place via email. Let's just stop there. Folks have found out that they don't have any jobs via email, right? And it's with immediate effect, not without any notice as well. So by 9 p.m. and the list goes on, and they're just saying, if you're on your way to work, I'm just trying to really go for that bridge to space. Now, if your employment is not impacted, you'll receive a notification via Twitter email. If your employment is impacted, you'll receive a notification on the next steps via your personal email. If you do not receive an email by 5 p.m. on Friday, that's today, please email this particular email. That's peoplequestions@twitter.com.
Just know that even the organization doesn't know that you exist.
Yes,
exactly.
So let's take a break. Let's take a break. 28 minutes to 9, talking about hiring. Are you looking for the best tech talent? And that tech talent that we're talking about. So the big companies that Lebanon was telling us, KPMG, EY, Meta, Vodafone, Microsoft, BCG, Apple, Amazon, Google, they have gone to theroom.com and they have found best talent, and we're talking about everything from cloud developers, software engineers, financial analysts, administrative talent, all that available in theroom.com. If you're also hiring, in fact, don't go and ask for the Public Service Commission to give you a list of their rejects. Go to the room. You will find the best talent.
All right, you got me there, Eric.
And they'll tell you how you can hire the best talent. Time for a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This is 00 Direct, woman host, music by women, and only women guest. Boom! Everything is so larger than life. You kind of have to have a good understanding of who you are. You could easily lose yourself.
We have a global approach in the programs that we put together, meaning that it's not just about refining my business, it's about refining the industry, it's about touching the youth and making sure that in totality, change actually happens.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m.
Only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so let's talk about the weather. What do you expect to see today? It's been raining the past 2 days in Nairobi. Today it's going to be a mostly cloudy day. Highs of 24. Malindi, light rain at 30. Mombasa, light rain as well at 30. Nakuru, sunny day at 21. Kisumu, sunny at 26. Nyeri, light rain at 22. Kakamega, partly sunny at 25. Eldoret, mostly sunny at 23. Dar es Salaam, light rain at 31. Johannesburg, sunny day at 19. Kampala, rain at 27. Kinshasa, partly sunny at 31. Lagos, light rain at 31. London, thunderstorms today at 12. New York, mostly cloudy at 22. Paris, cloudy at 13. And Beijing, sunny at 14. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. Like it was okay at some point on Thika Superhighway. Now it's looking bad again. But it's just on Thika Superhighway. Kiambu Road is okay. Thika Road, it stretches back to Utalii and Survey and coming all the way into the junction at Pangani. Thereafter, it moves well. Muranga Road is busy as you approach the Globe Cinema roundabout. Uhuru Highway, as you get to the roundabout, it's busy. Aerodrome Road is busy. Langata Road, Lusaka Road junction with Uhuru Highway, busy. Jogoo Road has been busy. Lunga Road is busy this morning. Likoni Road is busy as you approach the Enterprise Road junction. Thereafter, it clears. North Airport Road is okay. We've talked about Jogoo Road not being so good and not so okay. Langata Road is fairly smooth. Museum Hill coming towards town and Wayaki Way heading towards town. It's very, very, very busy as you approach Westlands, and thereafter, as you get to the mall, it's very busy, but just be patient.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Tonight. So let me prosecute my case here and say that we should relook this whole selection and vetting process. We should have a different view of it.
Agreed.
Number one, the president is given leeway to select whoever he wants to join his cabinet.
Yes.
They're just vetted by parliament and then he nominates.
Yeah.
We have seen the charade that's vetting by parliament. Oh, we didn't think this one has an issue. Oh, we don't have an issue with this one. Oh, let it pass. Oh, blah, blah, blah. PSS is even worse.
Yeah.
The PS, and we've talked about the importance of that office and the hold of that office. That person should be a public servant, in my opinion. Let the Public Service Commission promote people via merit up the ranks of the public service to the level of principal secretary. At that level, you understand the bureaucracy of government, you understand the workings of government, you understand the importance of the job that you hold, and you know your other officers below you. This thing of just picking somebody from university to politics, from parliament to go and become the PS for lands, completely new.
It's a disaster in the
and
making.
a whole new CS who's never also been in lands. These two people are going to the lands ministry and they're new to the system. Never worked in government, for example, the PS. This is a disaster. And this person has the power of the pen, like you're saying. Let's remove that whole thing and say the president will find PSs working. The government, the civil service is a machine that works, regardless of the administration of the day. This other one of the principals of the cabinet secretaries, let's not even subject them through parliamentary vetting.
Just appoint them.
Appoint. He is carrying the burden. He knows the political burden that he carries. If the president came and promised that my government is going to deliver, he knows if your government does not deliver, the voters will punish you in 5 years' time. If the government delivers, the voters will reward you in 5 years' time. So it's your choice. You have been given the mandate by over 6-7 million Kenyans to run the country and to run government. Run it. It doesn't work, we sacrifice you. Yeah. This whole thing of saying, we've rejected your ministers, you've rejected, what's that nonsense?
Can I give free advice maybe to the powers that be right now? There's something that was in the previous executive order. I'm sure it's still implemented because, first of all, I must admit, I enjoyed my time in the President's Delivery Unit, which has now changed into the Government Delivery Unit. I don't know how that's going to pan out because I think the PDU did some amazing work, for former president and, of course, the deputy president then. We don't know how that's going to pan out in terms of just ensuring that things get done, projects and what have you. I want to talk about two departments that are really key. It's called the National Development Implementation Cabinet Coordination Committee. That's called the NDICC. This was the group now of the cabinet secretaries coming together and ensuring that the policy directives can actually cascade down to the National Development Implementation and Technical Committee. That's the NDITC. Now, I think the learnings in those two committees were amazing, and rightfully so. Of course, you pick out some weaknesses in terms of some of the appointments. You pick out some strengths in some of the appointments. But I believe that these two, the camaraderie and the sort of vibe that existed between the cabinet committee and the technical committee should actually, of course, this was ran by the PDU as well. Those are things that actually would help center of government really implement what they're actually doing.
What was the importance of having that committee, the Matiang'i committee, for example?
It's that ministry. Oh, no, it's so-and-so who's doing this. Oh, it's so-and-so who's doing this. That committee brought everyone under one roof and said, hey, look here, this investor is saying, you're the one who's refusing to give out this permit. You're the one who's supposed to do this. So in one sitting, you thrash out agenda. You know the way, and sorry to say, and I really feel bad for Kenyans who have to go to this office, then they're taken to that office, then they're taken to that office. Now, there's a whole of government approach. That center of government approach, I feel it's a concept that deliverology goes around our African continent, things will really get done.
But you know something, Laban, if you consider what Eric was saying, when you have a civil service that is permanent as this one used to be, those people talk to each other. This very thing that you're saying, they will know if there are issues here, we will talk to, and the associations that get them to talk to each other existed. But with every electoral cycle, you bring in new people. What do you think you've just created? That continuity, it's completely dismantled.
And remember, I agree with you.
And in my view, it's deliberate.
But let me tell you, there are folks who, and I was speaking to actually some investors as well recently, and I just told them, you know what, as much as you want to go and ask for a courtesy call to the president or to his deputy or the cabinet secretary, please don't forget the directors who are sitting in these ministries. Don't forget the folks who've been there 5, 10, 20 years. Who will always be like,
those are the
you guys just came the other day. You come, leave us and get us. So I'd really give a lot of respect to this. They are folks just maybe below PS level, have been in government all this time. And what happens is, and especially with the folks who maybe want to come in and, throw their weight around, I'll caution them to really be very careful of the guys in government who actually
who actually run government
at their level. Let me speak to their level.
So you know I'm saying run.
It helps.
It's not even at their level. I'm saying run.
Yeah.
If you're talking about systems, you're talking about the wheretofores and everything that is government.
Yeah.
They are the custodians, my friend.
Agreed.
They know.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the people whom even the PSS rely on.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, when we say they run government,
yes,
they do. Now,
true.
If you've never been in government,
yes,
it is difficult to understand just how important these people are.
Mm-hmm. And
it's
they are
next to impossible.
And they are. I think any free advice is please keep this for. They don't like to be seen. They're never in press interviews. They're never on TV. They're behind the scenes.
You don't even know who they are.
They don't even know who they are. But I really learned a lot from these folks who, they come in and they have a lot of knowledge. They actually understand statecraft, which is something I'll talk about when I start lecturing, maybe in my other life.
Any civil servant who actually understands what they're doing tends to involve the people they work with.
Yeah.
Whether it's the directors, the people below the directors, so that by the time they're talking or they're signing off on something, everyone who works with them in whichever department have signed off on it. So there's evidence that this thing has actually been given a thorough look through. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that thorough look through is something you don't understand, and that is the problem of being new to government and being new to a position, how long will it take you to actually get to figure out how this thing actually works?
Mm-hmm.
And will these people work to ensure that you understand how this thing works? Because if you come in, for instance, as they say, and you're supposedly you're a new broom, the saying we hear anecdotally in government, you found us here. Well, you still leave us here.
Because a person comes, let's say someone comes as a PS, because they also want to have people who they feel that they trust, they'll bring their own administrative secretaries, in the office of the PS. And this is somebody, maybe it's a buddy who was in another department, or somebody that they'll promote from down there and bring them and make them, the admin secretary in the office. The other people, the heads of directorates, are just looking at this person and thinking, you have absolutely no clue what we do. And you're coming here to try and boss us and to lord it on us. So we will not say no. We'll just tell you yes, sir. But we'll tell you yes, sir, for 6 months on something that could have been done in a week.
Yeah, in a week. Okay. That's that.
And that ends up just frustrating the work of government because we keep changing. And then you'll find halfway through an administration's 5-year term, there's a reshuffle of PSs. So again, somebody new comes to introduce themselves to the machinery of civil service. Whole change.
So what happens to service delivery for the Monanchi?
And then that, for me,
it's sacrifice at that altar
and that's
political convenience.
Because see, what we're talking about is really at a very high level. But for me, I really, my heart goes out to like, Laban, oh my goodness, I'm having issues with my passport, which of course the birth certificate because of this police report. So imagine how many government ministries you have to do your passport because it's lost. You have to go get an abstract. And then you're told, go to this office, go to this office, go to this office.
From immigration, you're told, go to the registrar of persons.
Go to this office. So my heart goes out to them. But I look at the NDICC, the NDITC that was chaperoned by the delivery unit as a way that perhaps this administration, as much as they would like to change the name and they'd like to, tweak it a bit, but I feel that whole of government, center of government approach should really work. And by the way, the peers would actually they say, it used to be done like this. And I'd really throw a challenge to these PSs who've been reappointed, nominated now, is that please help out these folks who perhaps in the eyes of the public, they would be deemed weak or they would be deemed less knowledgeable about how government works, and the likes of Dr. Kipto, you mentioned about Bele Kipsang, because they understand it, they have that institutional knowledge. So they can actually help on that continuity. Because let's respect, this is a new dispensation, so let's give it up to them. So, of course, they'll come in with new ideas. But you also need the people who've done it before.
Let me ask you something.
You need, to actually help.
At the end of the day, what we want is service delivery.
Agreed. What that one, your passport. You want your passport within.
That is a service. If that's what I need, that's what I need. Now, if through whichever mechanism the individuals got to where they are, and they are able to deliver, it will not matter in my mind. The reason why I feel we discuss this at great length is you look at the individuals and you question that ability. You ask, will this person actually get this job done? Yes, because everyone who is there has a history. And whatever we've read or whatever we are privy to is what now informs us, and we question. But what I question is, fine, what is the end goal? Because these are deliberate. There's nothing accidental here. At the beginning of all this, when we first looked at the nomination to the cabinet, we said in this studio that is a 2027 cabinet. Yes, the focus is that. That's what we said. And my view hasn't changed. The question again now that I would ask now is, will this particular group of individuals ensure that the public is with you in 2027?
Yeah.
Because that's what really matters.
That's it.
Yes. I mean, interests change, to be honest. And for me, I'll go back to that word, loyalty. Will the loyalty still stand the test of time?
Will it be the one that determines
will it stand the test of time up to that?
Laban, do you honestly think that there's anything like loyalty in our politics? Loyalty per se. If you're to look at the fundamentals of loyalty.
There is. Whichever side you fall on, it has a prize.
Side you fall on. If you look
side.
at the way our politicians have moved around from this party to that, changed alliances, done the other.
On what we're discussing on our front pages of the Standard.
Yes.
Blow to Orange Party as Ongwae, that's of course former governor of Kisii. And
why is it
the former woman Ongera Decamp. Okay, we this is actually our headline, so I don't know why you're saying it's a blow. It's a blow to ODM because they actually.
How do we know that? Do you think ODM thinks it's a blow?
Look, you know why I'm saying that is because people are shifting allegiances right now.
Look, the allegiance, the loyalty that I see is people have allegiance and loyalty to themselves and their interests. That one I see with clarity. But if you look at the political parties that we've had, the way we've changed them, you only need to ask yourself, how do our political parties function? They are properties of the people who own them. Party leader is party. It's not complicated. So you tell me, where's the loyalty? To the party, to the individual, to themselves. Even right now, we have UDA. Okay?
Yeah.
Formed just the other day here. Cobbled up just the other day. Like many other parties that were cobbled just the other day. And they are part of a history to the point where you can't even remember which party is which one.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
For all you know, come the next election, there may be Banana Republic Party, and that will be the party that is unifying everybody. So, where is the loyalty? Beyond their personal interest, where is the loyalty?
Agreed, and that's what I'm saying. For the
that oath of office that people take, they swear. Do you think people pause for a second and actually consider?
To internalize
what they actually say? Because their actions belie that completely. Because someone swears. And if you are to have a conversation with this individual, realize, my goodness gracious me. The guy just went, this individual just went through the process.
So are you saying there's no loyalty at all?
I am saying there's loyalty to oneself in the political realm.
So loyalty is completely selfish.
It is self-centered. It is self-seeking. When it isn't, then the changes we keep speaking about, we will see. Being loyal to your party is useful, it is necessary. Being loyal to your party leader is useful, it is necessary.
For the time being.
Yes.
As long as it's serving you.
Suits your your interests.
If you're a politician, your loyalty should be to serving your people. Because that's what got you there in the first place. The hope that people have that you will serve them is what got you there, the hope. Now, we unfortunately deal with the currency where that is often the subject, or when we discuss it, it's with pain.
Eric, what do you think about this move? And I know it's
by
backyard.
The Honorable James Ongwae and Janet Ongera.
Yeah, I mean, because this is what people were deep.
I think
they were deep in the
administration.
Campaign, the Zimio.
Were they?
Really deep, I believe.
They were considered, especially those two, to be, like the point persons of ODM in Kisii Nyanza, right? And to be Raila's people on the ground in Kisii Nyanza. If you look at the campaigns that were conducted all the years that Ongwae was governor, the 2 terms, and this time again, he was the one who was like coordinating the campaign.
He was considered the linchpin.
Yes. So if a linchpin then decamps and he says he's decamping, well, it's not a new thing. We've seen this. I mean, like City is saying, we've seen this many times. But what does it mean? And are these two leaders looking at their political future, or are they looking at security,
survival mode,
security in the present administration?
Yeah, it's a sort of covering,
because there's that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, if these guys, they said we are not going to go after anybody, and then we are seeing what they're doing. All right, but would you trust that? If I just sit there, I'll be exposed.
If a dog bites you, do you blame the dog? Do you blame the master?
If it's a rabid dog.
Look, anyway, but I think it
why do people shift allegiances in politics?
Yeah.
I mean, the answer to that one is as simple as what is 1 + 1. It's not something complicated.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Ongwae can't be governor again. Okay? That's done.
Yeah.
Right? ODM served its purpose then. Will ODM serve its purpose going into the future? Because if you look at ODM and the leadership in his neck of the woods, there are other people who come to the fore. We have the great lion, Simbarati. We have Richard Onyonka. There are other people who've come in and who are speaking that language.
Yeah.
And then other parties, the democracy in Kisii is something I always admire.
Yeah.
Okay? People vote for, it's like they vote for individuals and not necessarily parties all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a change.
Yeah.
Now, if you feel that your interest will be served elsewhere, why would you stay where you don't think your interest will be served well?
Yeah.
That's why I said loyalty is to oneself.
True.
And it's important that you actually have that kind of thinking in politics. If you cannot just go with somebody who is also
not on your side,
securing themselves.
Okay, yeah.
Do you think you think that the party, you think today the loyalty, Dr. William Ruto has loyalty to anybody else apart from himself and his ambition? Does Raila Odinga have loyalty to anybody else apart from himself and his ambition? No. So why should the people who are working with him have loyalty only to him?
Yeah.
It has to be.
And the loyalty we as the citizens and the voters have is so that our interests are served.
Yes.
Please understand. So when they're not served is when we pitch a fit.
Yeah. Like, no. It's not working.
So it's not something unusual.
Yeah.
But we like to speak of it in lofty terms and then give it a certain moral twist, which doesn't exist.
Anyway,
there's no morality in politics.
No, there isn't. Not in this sphere. No, it isn't. It doesn't exist. People changing comes. People change all the time. Look at anyone who is in politics and in a position of authority. Tell me how many parties they've gone through.
So I agree with you. Maybe there's a bit of the difference in the party loyalty. But if you're looking at what your interests will be, we've agreed that there's your loyalty to oneself. But I would say for any appointee, or anyone serving a principal at your time, you best be loyal to them.
At the moment when you're
you
in office.
You best be loyal. Choose a side. Choose a side.
When you are working under so and so.
Choose a side.
Laban, may I append to something that what you just said? Don't necessarily be loyal.
Yeah.
Convince them that you are loyal.
Yeah.
Whether they are loyal is a completely different.
Loyal.
Convince them. They must believe wholeheartedly that you are loyal. Now that is what counts.
Yeah.
If you are loyal and the whisperers who don't like you keep saying other things, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Agreed.
So the individual to whom you feel you owe loyalty must believe in their hearts.
Yes.
That's why with every government, with every leadership, with every presidency, the individuals you look at, you wonder, what on earth did this person do for the? I mean, this one. And I mean, you wonder,
why does the boss listen to this person?
Where has this one come? You look at this person, we always see, what does he do?
Yeah.
Now, those ones are loyal. And there's a reason why they are loyal. In Kenya, we say, wametoka mbali. That explains everything.
Kabisa.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
They've come from far together.
We should write a paper.
They've brought this person from far together. Laban,
incorporated circles.
CT says he has not started counting the days of President William Ruto's administration until the day when these PSs are sworn in. That's when he'll start day one.
Because of what you said and them being really accounting officers at the ministries, I believe also what the CSs are doing right now is basically just getting acclimatized to the offices and really knowing where the air conditioner switch is, where the remote thing is and what Kipchumba
and
Murkomen
the
is saying.
VIP lift.
You know, this man is a church-going person. no, seriously. I mean, I like your faith in humanity.
No. I mean, it's
in my mind, that's the last thing on their mind. How much money does this ministry have? Okay.
What have left in the coffers?
Who are the people who are going to be our contractors?
What are the parastatals?
What are the parastatals?
But
what are the
I've
state
just gone
departments
back
under
and
us?
I shared this earlier, and I was very. This is Kipchumba Murkomen, and he was quoted saying, "I'm shocked. I don't know about the other sectors and what they have discovered." So they're on discovery mode. Let's admit, people are not trying to get acclimatized.
Those are lies.
I think the captain. The captain of the state capture was living in my ministry.
Those are lies.
I think this was one quote that perhaps
those are lies.
So somebody, what will we do? We'll keep this.
Will remind Kipchumba Murkomen that he has just come from being a ranking member of the first Senate of the Republic of Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
He was the majority leader.
Yes.
He is a ranking member.
Yes.
They've had a lot of access to information.
Yes.
There's nothing new that Kipchumba Murkomen has walked into Transcom House and discovered that he didn't know before.
When your role is that of oversight, is there anything you actually don't know?
So what we're saying, we'll keep this quote up until then when he is just going to be, in the next dispensation, for instance, and we don't know how long that will be.
No, he's told us he's looking for the SGR contract.
We are not waiting for the next dispensation.
Yes.
Let everybody come in. Let these ducks be in that row. Okay?
Yeah.
Then we will look at what they do and how they perform.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all, eh?
That's it.
Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We talk to a Minister of State to the Jaban Federal Office who is visiting the country. She will be with us in the next hour. We also remind you about the KMRC. Go to kmrc.co.ke. Get to find out where the homes are, how much they are going for. In fact, if you go to that website and then you go to the Resource Center tab and click on Affordable Houses Catalog, there's a catalog of all the houses that are affordable and they're developers across the country. So you go then to your circle and say, Nataka deal ya KMRC. Because rent yako, keja yako. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has reaffirmed Kenya's nomination of Ambassador Nancy Karegedu for the position of Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization. According to a statement issued by State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed, the president exhibited confidence in Ms. Karegedu, who is currently Kenya's Special Envoy for Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, saying she would bring strong competencies and invaluable experience to the IMO, which is a key pillar for the country's foreign policy and East Africa at large. The president also noted that Karegedu had also been endorsed for the position by the African Union early in the year during a meeting in Zambia due to her expertise in the sector. Now, the Law Society of Kenya has written a letter to the Public Service Commission demanding the final list of qualified principal secretaries that was forwarded to President William Ruto for him to make nominations. In the letter penned by LSK President Eric Theuri and addressed to PSC CEO Dr. Simon Rotich, the Law Society boss states that two of the persons nominated by the president were not shortlisted for interviews as per the original 585 candidates shortlisted published in local dailies. According to Theory, the Public Service Commission has an obligation to provide accurate information to the public as well as uphold merit-based appointments and the participation of the people in such appointments. He likewise stated that the final list forwarded to President Ruto for the appointment was not inclusive, as the head of state promised in the days leading up to the August polls. And the Anti-Corruption Commission is investigating an alleged graft case involving Jubilee Party Vice Chairperson David Murathe, former Lugari MP Cyrus Jirongo, Co-to Secretary General Francis Atwoli and former Speaker Kenneth Marende in connection with the 250 million land saga. Others roped in the alleged plan to defraud the Kenyan government include Albino Abwog and George Khanira Toli said to have received the lion's share of the payment, totaling to 60 million shillings, while Jirongan Muratha received 25 million shillings and 20.6 million shillings respectively. Judge Khanir is unleashed, who pocketed 5 million shillings, while Kenneth Marende received 3 million shillings and Albina Borg 38 million shillings. And former Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala has been appointed as the Vice President of Fauna and Flora International, a global wildlife conservation charity. The appointment comes exactly a week after Balala officially handed over the Tourism Ministry docket to his successor, CS Penina Malonza. According to FFI, the ex-CS will capitalize on his vast experience in wildlife conservation and tourism to support the NGO in future projects, both locally and abroad. And Second Lady Dorcas Rigathi has announced plans to introduce nationwide financial empowerment programs, she says, will specifically target boys and young men. Mrs. Rigathi noted that the empowerment projects will be done in conjunction with the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives, KUSCO, towards giving young men financial freedom. The Second Lady said partnering with the cooperative societies will provide possible solutions to the problems of food security, access to affordable housing, and other social issues. And the truce reached between Ethiopia's warring parties marks an encouraging and bold step towards peace, but that reparations for the brutal conflicts many victims faced should be fast-tracked. Volker Turk, who took over as the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights 2 weeks ago, said he hoped the breakthrough agreement signed Wednesday would help end the conflict that has claimed many lives, caused widespread displacement and untold suffering and ruin. He particularly welcomed that the deal between the federal government and Tigrayan regional authorities, announced almost exactly 2 years to the day since the war erupted on November 4, 2020, strongly emphasized human rights. And former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan is in stable condition after being shot in the leg at a political rally in what the country's president deemed a heinous assassination attempt. The former international cricket star has been leading a chaotic convoy of thousands from the city of Lahore towards the capital, Islamabad, campaigning for fresh elections after being ousted from office in April. Khan escaped with a bullet wound to his right calf, while several of his Pakistan Tehreek and Insaf PTI party officials were also hit by the spray gunfire aimed at the modified container truck as it slowly drove through a thick crowd near Gujranwala. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, so it's getting busy as you get into the CBD. All roads leading into the CBD. Landis Road is busy from a City Stadium roundabout all the way into Kamukunji and on to Haile Selassie Avenue. More Thika Superhighway is busy now just at the Kiambu Road interchange, but then Muranga Road is busy from Garag heading towards the Globe Cinema roundabout. The roads within the CBD, Kenyatta Avenue, Uhuru Highway into Kenyatta Avenue, Uhuru Highway into University Way, Uhuru Highway into Haile Selassie Avenue, busy. Langata Road has cleared up. Ngong Road has cleared up. Jogoo Road has cleared up in the usual spots. And Mombasa Road elsewhere has also cleared up. So the only issue now is as you get into the CBD, but there's still some problem on Likoni Road as you approach the Enterprise Road junction. Something is happening there. If you know what it is, let us know, then we can tell everybody else.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start.
The final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room on SpiceFM. We're live as well on YouTube and Facebook. We broadcast every weekday morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's Eric Latif and C.T. Muga. Ndu is away this week, but we have a guest host today, Laban Clifford Serio from the Standard Group, the host of... What's your show called?
Transform Kenya and The Headhunter.
The Headhunter.
Yeah.
And we have a guest in the studio from Germany, the Minister of State for the German Federal Foreign Office. Before we welcome and introduce her to the show, let her hear the day's proverb.
Yes, our last proverb from the land of the pharaohs, that is Egypt. People bring their own undoing through their tongue.
People bring their own undoing through their tongue.
Mm. You speak your way into disaster.
It's your tongue that will lead you there.
Yes.
Don't blame anybody else.
Blame your tongue.
Oh, the weather that day. Oh, you know.
The politicians.
So and so didn't come. It's your tongue. Primarily.
Yeah.
Katja Kuhl is the Minister of State, the German Federal Foreign Office. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. It's good to have you here. You know, when we were talking about you coming this morning, we were trying to figure out how to pronounce your name, especially the second name. The first name is Katja. That's Katja. Mm-hmm. Second name is Keul.
It's Coil.
Coil.
It would be like an O and an I in English.
So EU is OI.
Okay.
All right. Katja Coil. Welcome to Kenya. How long have you been in the country?
Well, I arrived the day before yesterday at night, so I have 2 days, and this is my second day, and I'm leaving again tonight back to Berlin.
We saw that you had some meetings with members of parliament yesterday. You've met other people as well. What brings you to Kenya?
Well, I'm representing the foreign minister of the Federal Republic of Germany, and we want to show that we are really meaning serious, that we want to intensify our relationship with our African partners, especially with Kenya, because Kenya is really an important partner for us. We see that the war came back to Europe, which is a terrible situation, but we also see there is war in this region, and we are all living in one world, so we cannot solve our problem one each other. We have to do it together, and we want to cooperate with Kenya on all these peace and security issues. And especially all around your country. We have Somalia, we have the conflict in Ethiopia, we have Congo. So I've been talking to your government, to the executive, but also to the parliamentarians, and also to the Chief Justice, to the judiciary. So it was a very intensive day yesterday, and I got an impression on how the dynamic works in Kenya and how much chances and opportunities there is if we really intensify our cooperation.
Just so as everybody can understand the structure of offices in Germany, you're Minister of State, German Federal Foreign Office. What does that mean? Are you the Minister for Foreign Affairs? Are you the Assistant Minister? Or are you a PS? What is that?
I'm a deputy foreign minister. I'm representing my minister is Annalena Baerbock. She is the first female foreign minister of Germany, and she has 3 deputies, and I'm one of them. She has 3 state ministers, and I'm the state minister for Africa.
Right.
So a state minister is a deputy?
If you want to.
It's like an assistant minister.
Yeah. Or PSs as well.
Yeah. So when you say there are 3 of you, so, okay, like in this ministry, you are in charge of the continent of Africa.
Yes.
Okay. What about the other 2? What are they in charge of?
Well, the other one is the European state minister. So she's doing all the conferences in Brussels and among the Europeans. And Europeans have a lot of internal conferences. So that's what she's covering up. And then the other colleague is kind of doing the rest of the world, the transatlantic relations, NATO, security issues. And besides Africa, I'm also responsible for cultural exchange, foreign cultural policy. So this is also a kind of a wide field. So we are supporting students' exchange of scientists. We have all our German institutions that we support that are also here in Kenya, in Nairobi, the Goethe Institute, the DAAD. So all these institutions are supported by the foreign
office.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the state minister a member of parliament?
Yes, indeed. That's kind of a little bit special. Even our ministers, they stay members of parliament when they enter in executive. So I've been a member of parliament for over 12 years, 13 years now. So 3 periods. It's 4 years is our periods in Germany. So it's I've been in the opposition for 12 years, and since 1 year we're part of the government. So that's how. It's only 11 months now that I'm State Minister for Africa.
Are there any ministers or deputy ministers who are not members of parliament?
Yes, there can be ministers that are not in parliament. If the chancellor decides to ask some expert from outside the parliament to be minister, that happens once in a while, but usually most of them are parliamentarians.
What would you say is the German government's policy on the continent of Africa? If you were to talk about it broadly, what is the foreign policy? What is it about? What is it that it speaks to?
Well, as I said, we really focus on intensifying that partnership because our continents are neighbors, and what inflicts Africa also touches Europe and the other way around. So there is the question of climate change, climate protection, energy. So there's a lot of opportunity there to cooperate, especially with Kenya, but also with other countries, to see, well, we have worldwide, we have to change the way we produce energy if we want to reach the goals of Paris of 1.5%. And so there's opportunities there because a lot of times we have the technology, and then African countries have the infrastructure or the sunshine, the wind. Kenya is really top number one when it comes to renewable energy. Sure, yep. You have 90% of your electricity made by renewable energy. This is far more than we have in Germany. We have about a little bit more than 50% now. So this is where we work on. And then the second focus, of course, is peace and security. And we are very troubled by what happens in Europe. We've never thought that war would come back to Europe. And we want this war to end as soon as possible. But unfortunately, we have one side that decided to go for a military solution, bombing their neighbor country. And we see very clearly that it's, well, the people that are suffering the most, of course, is the Ukrainian people. But of course, also our people, they're very worried. They don't know how to pay their gas bills. We have inflation. We have economic problems as well. And then we see very clearly that there's African countries that are suffering the most because of the nutrition crisis, because of the drought. It's the Sahel. It's here. It's the region of the east of Africa that is really, really suffering from all these consequences. So we want to make clear that we keep up all our humanitarian aid. We're not cutting down because of the war in Europe, because we see that this is just necessary. Otherwise, it would destabilize the whole region, and we are all linked to each other. So that's the focus. And politically speaking, we see the need that we defend our common values together. The values written down in the United Nations Charter, written down in the Charter of the African Union, the respect of borders. So if we let it happen that aggressors just get their will, then we are all in trouble. So we need each other to defend the rule-based international order.
It brings into mind a question of policy again, but now policy on immigration, because with the war in Ukraine, yes, there's movement, probably unprecedented in a very, very long time, but it isn't just the Europeans who move. People from the African continent have been moving to Europe. Now, the CDU government under Angela Merkel had what I as an African would consider a very lenient approach towards immigration. Now, the party you belong to and this government, what are your policies on immigration?
Well, my party, I'm a member of the Green Party, and we always wanted a liberal immigration law, and we were one of the first ones to say Germany is an immigration country. For a long time, people didn't want to realize it in Germany that is the case. But I think by now this is kind of a common sense that we are an immigration country and we need immigration too. So, of course, we need to find procedures that we still struggle on politically, but we are moving ahead. And this is also an opportunity of our cooperation. If we find a way to come together, the African countries have all the youth that we don't have. You're young countries, a lot of young, motivated people, qualified people, and we are an old country. We're overaged. Our companies, they have technology and everything, but they need people. So if we kind of can come together, then we'll have a win-win situation. So this is kind of the vision of the future, where we still have to find ways how to organize it so that it's working for everybody. And of course, we have refugees, like you have refugees. I mean, we really appreciate what Kenya is doing for the refugees of your neighboring countries. You are taking lots of them, and we have Ukrainian refugees right now too. It's about 1 million. Most of them really stay close to the border because they want to go back as soon as it's possible. Most of them are not coming to stay. But of course, we have others, refugees from other countries where they can't come back. So our policy is, if they're there and they want to integrate, that we need to give them the chance to integrate.
Honorable Minister, it's really a pleasure to have you on board today, and I think I'm glad for the interrelations that Kenya and Germany have. I mean, your local ambassador here, Sebastian, speaks good Swahili. My wife speaks fluent German as well, so there's a very strong relations culturally on that aspect. Seeing you here and talking about climate change is an excitement about COP27, and you mentioned about apart from being in Kenya, you're going to be in Namibia, you're going to be in South Africa. So a really keen focus on Africa. What are your sentiments with the climate change conference happening in Egypt for the first time in Africa as well? And perhaps as a government, what will you be putting forward?
Well, our government will be there, our chancellor, my foreign minister, and everybody's really preparing for it because we don't have much time to lose. And what we as a government are trying to promote is that we really look into funding adaptation to climate change, because obviously when we look in this part of the world, climate change is here to stay. It's not a crisis that comes and goes. So we have really to look into long-term financing for adaptation and also for loss and damages. And that's also something that the Kenya government wants to do. So we are standing by your side, and I talked to the security advisor of the president yesterday, and that she made it very clear that this is where we need to go, and that we need to start right when the conference is over. The projects need to start because we cannot lose time.
Let me talk about the business relation, Eric, if you allow. Just on the beat about there's a whole conversation about the German-Kenya. So we spoke about culturally, we spoke about climate change, and now touch on the business relationships, and what can we actually create and enhance. I mean, we've had touch points, for instance, flown on Lufthansa, for instance. I really enjoyed the service out there. There are lots of German brands that are in Kenya are termed quality. There are German brands that perhaps, you drive and say, what, these are actually quality brands that you actually do. Apart from, and I think mechanical engineering, which is largely known to be top of the league, what are the areas of, business partnership and ties are you creating with Kenya today?
Well, what I can talk about is what I
Africa
already
as well,
said
or
about
there.
about especially the technology for energy, for renewable energy. I see a really high potential there and high interest from the German companies, and you have really extremely good experience with the geothermic technology. So this is very interesting for us.
Great. When you talk about that, the technology transfer, it sounds to me, and we've had these conversations many times on this show before, when we look at the West versus Africa, when it comes to energy and moving towards clean energy and renewable energy, Africa does not need to move towards clean energy. Africa is in clean energy. It's your country and the others that need to move towards clean energy. But then you hold the technology for clean energy, you hold the patents for the technology for clean energy. And when you come to Africa and you tell us, avoid going fossil route, go clean, but you hold the patents for that. And then you also know that we have a lot of minerals. We have oil that we've discovered. Uganda, natural resources. Uganda has that. We've got coal. The projects in like Kenya attempted to go into a coal project for just 1,000 megawatts using coal, compared to how much coal Germany uses, how much energy Germany produces through coal. But then we see the conversation is, no, you should not go that route. You should go clean energy. But you're not getting the technology for clean energy. How do you balance that?
Well, you're absolutely right. The ones that caused climate change are the industrial states. We did a lot more to cause the problem, and other countries are suffering from the consequences, even though they are not taking, had a big part in it. So I understand the point, and it's not up to us to say, well, don't do this or don't do that. And especially now with the world crisis on gas, we understand that there's African countries saying, well, we want to exploit our resources just like you Europeans exploited yours. But on the other side, we all have to see that the fact is we're living in one world. And so we should really try not to repeat mistakes that we have done in the past, because, especially the countries that have the resources that they want to exploit are also the same ones that suffer from the consequences from climate change the most. So we're in the same boat, and we need to try to work together to find a way to come up to the absolutely right interests of the countries to say, well, we want to provide our people with electricity. Absolutely. So. And that's also the reason why in the COP conference, in the oncoming, we say, well, we need to provide the funding for the adaptation to climate change. That's our responsibility also as the ones that caused the problem. But I would just, try to say it's not a question of justice to do the same mistakes we made, because then we are not getting ahead. So,
but Honorable Kachi, let me just push back on that.
Yeah.
Look, it's not that there's injustice in the conversation. It's clear. We should all try and avoid using fossil fuels and the ones that caused the problems that we are seeing. But the pushback comes from those activists who say, Germany, for example, it's not talking about stopping to use fossil fuels tomorrow. It's talking about gradual reduction of fossil fuel and gradual adaptation of green energy. The same thing that African countries are saying. We have renewable energy, and we're just saying, let's mix. As we get into accelerating our use of renewable energies, can we exploit the resources that we have and just have a mix that maybe brings us to 20%? 20% will still be less than 1% of what Germany will be using at that point with the dirty energy. So the conversation when he says, let's not go into, doing the kind of things that we did, but you are continuing to do the kind of things that you did. Where is the justice in that?
No, we're not saying don't do this or don't do that. So it's clear there's going to be a mix. There's going to be a mix for a certain time of fossil energy and renewable energy, as well in the south as well as in Europe. So I think we're all trying our best to come up to the goals of Paris. Everybody's trying what they can, and we need to support each other. It's not of asking African countries not to use their resources, but we need to do as much as we can to get as fast as we can into the renewable energy. And I mean, your country is the best example for it. So we can also, learn from you, because you already went further than we did. So we will have a certain time, and the times is even more difficult because of the war, because everybody's trying. Well, we are trying to become independent of Russian gas. So we have to do two things at the same time right now, which really makes it complicated, because we're in office now for just a year. We started in December, and our program was, let's invest in renewable, and there was a lot of mistakes made in the last 20 years. We lost a lot of time in Germany to work on really, getting cleaner in our energy. So we were motivated. We started in December and said, okay, now we're going to really get into renewable, and we'll do it better than we used to. And then with the war now, we have the problem that at the same time we need to get out of the dependency of Russian gas, which of course makes this whole thing even more dynamic and more complicated. So I absolutely understand it's complicated for other countries as well, for everybody. So it's the economy in Germany as well that is in deep trouble, because what we're doing right now in Germany has never been done before. And people are very, very worried, and companies don't know how to continue to exist actually with what's happening on the gas market. So we are all in trouble, and I think we're all trying to do our best.
The best you can.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of pressure being applied by the citizens and the industries in Germany towards the resolution of the conflict in Ukraine? What is your government being told by the people of Germany? What needs to happen? What does Germany need to do to see a resolution to the situation in Ukraine?
Well, the resolution would be if this bombing would stop. That would be the point where everybody would be happy to see people come back to the table, because this is where you solve problems, and not by bombing civil population. And so far there is a huge solidarity by the German people towards to support the Ukrainian people. There is a big support. But of course, as the winter is coming and the economy problem are getting worse, and people don't know how to pay for their heating, there's tension coming up. That's clear. So this is our political task, really, to keep our society together and say we're going to go through this together. We don't see an option as Germany or Europe to enter in this conflict or tell the Ukrainian people, stop defending yourself. Give up your territory, because German people don't like the problems that roll from it. It's not possible. Yeah, it's not nothing we can do, because they're a sovereign country, and they have the right to self-defense. So we are standing there. We are ready as soon as there's this opportunity to be part or to help, bringing people to the table. But as long as one side is refusing any other solution than the military one, I doubt that we'll see a very, very quick solution. All we can do is keep on supporting the Ukrainian self-defense, but it's going to be a hard time for everybody, also for the German people.
From your position as the German government, how can we as a continent of Africa help you? Because you clearly need help.
Oh, you can be of a huge help when it comes to the solidarity in the international community, like in the United Nations General Assembly, to make clear that we stand together and we are not going to accept the military aggressors hurting other people, the borders, and bombing their neighbor countries. To say we We don't accept it. It's unacceptable. We want to see the respect for sovereign countries, for borders, and this would be a big help politically to make clear, to isolate the aggressor and say the whole world is not accepting what you're doing. It doesn't sound like as effective as sending weapons or military equipment, but it is a very, very important factor to have this political solidarity among the international community.
But is Europe willing to treat Africa as equal partners? Are they willing, economically and financially, to have policies that are not as exploitative as other governments within the West have had towards this continent? Because part of the reason why you will find political leaders on this continent either vacillate or lean towards whichever side suits their purpose is because of the feeling that they have not always been treated fairly or as equal partners.
Absolutely, that's what I hear in many of my meetings with African governments, telling me exactly that, and it's right. It's not always, African partners have not always been treated as they should have been treated, but I can only speak for now and for our government, and that's what we really want to change. We want to have partners on the same level because we need each other. So it's not that we are just coming and saying, well, we're giving you humanitarian aid and then we're gone. We're there now, and the amount of humanitarian aid, really, to make it clear, we're still, as Germany, we are the second biggest donor of humanitarian aid for Somalia, for Ethiopia, for the region here, and we also have to explain this as politicians to our own people when they get in need. But that's what we think we have to do. We say we cannot cut on the humanitarian aid now because this is destabilizing. This is a danger to everybody, to the people in East Africa, but also for the rest of the world if the drought and the famine leads to more war, then we are all in it. So
let me ask you a thorny question. You are the person within the government who is in charge of this continent. Now, the German presence as a colonial power in Africa wasn't as vast as the British or the French, but they were there. Now, the thing that Tanzania, people mention it in passing, but Namibia is never mentioned without a certain note of concern. Now, if we're talking about peace and we're talking about fair treatment, the government that you now serve in, what are the reparations that they have planned to put in place or follow through from what the previous government did, given the history that Germany has with Namibia?
Absolutely. This is a very important issue, and I sort of made it to a personal priority of mine. So I went to Tanzania. That was one of the first countries I went to. I just came back from Cameroon, going to Namibia. And there's something growing, there's a growing interest also in the civil society in Germany to know more about this time of colonialism, because for some reasons we actually realize we don't know much about it. We have been our history has always been kind of difficult, but we try to really get into it and work on what happened. But for the colonial time in Africa, it's like a black book yet. So we haven't really looked into it.
It's called denial.
Yeah, it's been denial for many years, and it's just now really, this need is coming up. And talking to the African partners, we see they say, well, there is some pages have been destroyed in our book, and we want to close the gap, and we need you to work with us together to close it. So there is an opportunity, if we can manage to work on it together, then we heal the wounds and we work for a better future as well. So there is a lot to do, and we have a lot of like cultural objects that are still in museums in Germany that we are willing to return, and the museums are willing to return them. So now there's a lot of cooperation between the museums to try to find out how to return them, to whom, what do they mean, what do we do with these cultural objects. So, and that cooperation is coming on really strong. So like for Tanzania, it's clear there is an exhibition in Berlin, in Germany, with those cultural objects, where each object that's presented is cleared first with the community where it comes from to say how is this going to be presented. And then in 24, this exhibition will move to Tanzania, and the objects will move as well. And then they stay there, and they'll be the property of the state of Tanzania. So these things are really coming on strong. And in Cameroon, I was there for 2 days, and I worked on the case of the King Mangabel that was executed by the German colonial authorities. And there was a big need. And so I went there, and we had a common commemoration ceremony with the family of the kings. And I explained as a representative of the German government that it was injustice, and that it should never have happened. So there was they really appreciated it, and I appreciated it as well. For me, it was an honor to be able to be invited by them to commemorate this war crime that actually happened. So, and this is kind of the start of a process. It's not the end of a process. It's the start of a process to look into the archives together, in the archives in Africa, but the archives in Berlin, and try to get the information out of it and heal the wounds of the past. So there's a lot to do.
Great. Honorable Minister, I think you've really touched on very key points that are actually top or on the radar of various governments across the world. I mean, I think we're calling this the pandemic period, talking about climate change, talking about the food crisis, the Ukraine war. How is the German government helping, especially continents like Africa, to actually build, build resilience? You mentioned about the war, but, it's been written that, even the impact on the grain supply into Africa is really dwindling. Out of that, issue that's happening, it might be deemed far away. But how can we talk about building? It might not just be African continent, but just across your other partners as well, building resilience to actually, fight off some of these effects of the war, fight off effects of the COVID pandemic, for instance, fight off effects of climate change, and what will be required of governments?
Well, for the COVID, we had, as you know, we had a German company developing the vaccination. And we are trying right now to support the production of vaccines in Africa. So President Steinmeier went to Senegal in February to open up and I think in Rwanda, and so to really have the vaccines on board where they are needed. And of course, for agriculture, that's one of the main questions. This is a question of adaptation to climate change. This is what we talked before. How can we find new ways or support new ways to have a better resilience in the agricultural sector?
There's also feedback on the East African community. I think we've seen a lot of work also what the GIZ is doing as well, which is supporting that regional integration so that countries can also work together. So you're not just dealing per country, you're also having a regional focus onto it, and I think that's hats off to your government for that.
As we conclude the conversation, Honourable Minister, your president visited the country a couple of years ago, and one of the things that he and his counterpart here then, President Uhuru Kenyatta, were focusing on is support for TVETs, the technical education. There's a program that they went to launch at Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology where the German government was going to come and support in the upgrading of facilities at Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology to become like a knowledge hub for TVET education in Kenya. How far is that project?
Well, I can't tell you any details on it, but at least yesterday when I was in Parliament, I met one of the parliamentarians that went through the program. Obviously, it is working, it is on board, and I can really say that this is something we are proud of, because this is a specialty we have in Germany, is the professional degrees that we get without going for the academic, not going to university or college, but having a professional degree is what makes German workers also famous, because they are very good trained, and we are in need in Germany, because, as I said, we have less and less young people. So the professional schools, they have trouble filling their classes for these kind of jobs, because a lot of people just prefer going to university. So we are really interested in promoting this good idea that's been working so good for us for so many years, and I'm sure it can also work for Kenya very good.
For those of us who want to know what she's referring to, I think that was yesterday, of course, on our visiting the parliament, several parliamentarians. That's on page 14 of the Standard, and you have your picture of your honourable minister as well, with a few of our MPs. So I think that, TVET is really something that people really need to actually embrace. And I think also for us as a Standard Group, we really try to really talk about the TVET institutions and really how do we improve our skill sets. So it doesn't matter, you don't have to have gone to university, but technical institutions are what you actually need to actually go into and practice, and learning a lot from the German government and how it's been done there. So I think for me, the opportunity to actually push the TVET agenda, because here, I think, City Eric, we always just talk about universities. I think that you will only have made it if you go to university. But I think right now there's going to be something that, the TVET
big focus on TVETs.
Yeah.
Honourable Minister, thank you very much for joining us. We understand you have another meeting that you're heading into, and we appreciate that you joined us this morning for this conversation and everything else that you're doing. You'll be flying out of the country tonight. Where to next?
Berlin?
Well, next week is the session week of the Parliament in Berlin. So on Monday morning, I'll be back in Parliament.
Okay. Katja Coyle is the Minister of State for German Federal Office, Minister of State in charge of Africa. She's basically like the assistant minister whose focus is primarily Africa. She's been here with us. She's visiting the country, living. She's been on a tour of African countries just to get to understand and see how to deepen the cooperation between the two countries. Your final message to the audience listening to you in Kenya and abroad?
Well, we stand by your side, and we are only strong if we stand together, and then we can solve the problems of the future.
Indeed. It's 9:45. Good morning.
Thank you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Everyone remembers the ambition they first had when they started their business.
A business holds promise. An idea could blow up and change lives anywhere on the planet. But the best idea is not worth much if it can't be executed by a solid team. Introducing The Room, the talent solution that provides a global network of tech talent, relationships, and resources dedicated to drive growth and innovation in your business. Hire tech talent and pick from qualified software engineers, cloud developers, web developers, and data analysts, all vetted and trained to Silicon Valley standards. The way we work has changed, and subsequently, so should the way we hire. Visit theroom.com today and discover how we can improve your business.
The Samsung Galaxy A04s is here, and it's packing awesome features that will take your life to an awesome new level. You'll love viewing your favorite content on the awesome 6.5-inch screen. And with the 50-megapixel camera, you'll take photos that you'll want to share. The awesome long-lasting battery will make sure that you stay online and in touch for much longer. Get your Galaxy A04s today. Awesome's what we're doing.
It's 2022. My friend, bado unalipa rent? It's time to say goodbye to your landlord and say hello to your own home, courtesy of the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. Hapa KMRC tumeiweka visimple sana. You can now own a home through our affordable home loans at fixed, less than 10% interest rate and for a longer repayment period of up to 25 years. Tumepartner with your local banks and SACCOs for this. Unangoja nini? KMRC inakusort na dream home yako. Kulipia nyumba yako ni kama tu kulipa rent. Visit www.kmrc.co.ke to see the participating banks and SACCOs na uanze maisha yako in your own keja. Jijenge na KMRC. Rent yako, keja yako. Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Let me tell you about the weather and how it's looking like. So, Nairobi, expect a mostly cloudy day at 24. Mombasa, light rains again at 30. Malindi, light rain at 30. Nakuru, partly sunny at 21. Nyeri, light rain at 22. Partly sunny in Kisumu at 26. Kampala, rain at 27. Now, let's come back to the country and deal with Kakamega, partly sunny at 25. Eldoret, partly sunny at 23. Johannesburg, sunny at 19. Lagos, light rain at 31. Dar es Salaam, light rain at 31. Kinshasa, partly sunny at 31 as well. London, thunderstorms still. Clear skies at 12. Dongcheng, China, this is in Beijing, sunny at 14. And Paris, France, cloudy at 13.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
So the roads have been busy as you get towards the CBD. Landis Road is still busy, but it's improving. Well, it was worse than I'm seeing it now, but it's still very, very, very busy. Haile Selassie Avenue and around that area of Kamukunji into Landis, it's also very busy. Mbagathi Way at City Mortuary roundabout is busy, but everything else is moving. The roads into the CBD, Wayaki Way into Huru Highway into University roundabout is also busy. Thika Road and Kiambu Road are improving. Just the issue at Pangani. After that, it clears. Even Globe Cinema is moving.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
so there
Nairobi.
You go. We've been talking about buying these pieces of land in, what did I tell you the place is called, City? Hapo hivyo on near the SGR. Nachu. Yeah.
Yes.
Nachu is near the SGR substation at Nachu, and on the Ngong Suswa Road, just near the Ngong Suswa Road, Olive Real Estate is selling Naserian Ridge Phase 3, gated community and infrastructure development located just 4 kilometers from that SGR substation at Nachu, 500 meters from Ngong Suswa Road, providing freehold titles, beacons. It's close proximity to schools, electricity and water, and also very, very scenic. There is a site visit organized for the 19th of November. Book your slot by calling 0704 30 30 30. That's 0704 30 30 30. And you can visit olivelimited.com. Olivelimited.what? .com. City, the other day you went for a meeting and you were looking at the new Samsung A04 phones. Yeah? They say it's sleek, it's light, it's compact, it comes in very exciting colors. Do you attest to this?
I attest, actually. Let me tell you, it's one thing to read about something, it's quite another to actually see it. And it's another to actually see what it can do. See, the presentation that we were party to was actually being carried out on a screen, yes, but from the phone itself.
Allah?
Yes.
Phone projecting to the screen.
Kabisa. You know, you look and you marvel at technology. You say, man, this technology, Jamani, surely, the things it can do. It's like a lot of thought went into this particular process. Little details.
Yeah.
How it moves in this direction, what it does, the ease with which it can be carried, its size.
Yeah.
And then when you talk about exciting colors, some of those colors, you see, I'm a bit basic when it comes to colors.
Yeah.
You know, it's white, it's black, it's green,
it's gray,
red, it's yellow.
black.
The moment you go mauve, I'm lost. Okay? The moment you go lilac, I'm not sure that it's purple or it's pink.
You're away.
Yeah, completely. But it's those sort of... And then the moment something is gray, I know it is gray. Okay? Then you'll be told... All I'm saying is, my friend, it is something that is wonderful. But it wasn't the only thing, my friend. No. They even have watches. Watches which can talk to you.
They call the Samsung Gear.
Yes, it speaks with you. You forget telling you time. It can tell you.
It can tell you slow
your
down.
Heart rate.
You're overexerting yourself.
Yes, precisely. It can tell you heartbeat. It can tell you blood pressure. You can even receive SMSs on the watch, meaning you can get information and the watch is telling you, Nani. Okay? So all these little things that you require, right there. Then, man, they had a tab. Now, that tablet, it beats every other tablet that you've come across. And then, just when I thought I'd understood everything, there were these little earpieces they call a bud. Okay? It looks like a big earring sticking into your ear. But you realize it's not very intrusive. But the things that thing can do.
Clarity of sound.
My friend, surround. Meaning, you know, the sort of thing you hear and you look around and wonder where that sound is coming from. And it's actually in your ear.
Yeah, it's right in there.
Yes.
The bass.
The bass. All I'm saying is, I sat there, listened, looked, and I said, this technology is something to marvel at.
It's great work that Samsung is doing. Samsung are actually one of our partners, official partner for the Choma na Ngoma Festival that's taking place tomorrow.
Are you coming as well, Eric?
Of course.
City, yeah.
Choma na Ngoma.
Surely.
It's a weekend for sure.
Choma na Ngoma.
I'm really excited with what the Standard Group is doing right now. We're focusing a lot more on events, and we really want to go big on this this space. As you know, the cheese has moved. We cannot just say, we are...
Who moved it?
Technology has moved the cheese. You cannot just say, reading the paper as well. We need to look at new revenue streams. And I'm so excited to see that our partners have come on board and really supported the group in Choma na Ngoma Festival. I mean, we having the best of the names coming to perform, Hat the Band, Sairu, we have Shinsky coming on board as well. And it's going to be a really great fun. Sanna Payton as well.
Sanna is enough.
Sounds very exciting and interesting, but we're talking about bands,
okay.
Generationally.
Band is where you are at. And in your band, you're like, you're home.
Okay.
So I think it's really going to be fun, and I think to all our partners, listeners, it will be a good place. Head out to the Choma na Ngoma Festival tomorrow at the Carnival, and of course interact with the CT Muga, Eric Latif. It will be nice, and please do this on leave. I hope she also joins us as well.
You're saying this is a way that like Standard Group is looking at
these
Go
other
big on
avenues,
events.
right? Going big on events.
We are trailblazers.
and we've been talking about the things that the media needs to do.
Yes, revent. Let's look at something different, new ways, new revenue streams. I mean, we are among the only media houses that can actually host ministers such as from Germany, and the only place to think about stopping is the Standard Group, and particularly on SpiceFM. So we have something to offer not only Kenya but to the world. We actually have SpiceFM as a station that the former Estonian president chose to actually come in and support. So if you're looking at events, we're looking at focusing on issues to do with health. Eric and City, I wish I would fly you both to Egypt for COP27, but
why are you in the realm of wishing and you can do it? I mean, there are planes that go to Egypt.
But
we walk near the airport.
We are here,
and we are
do
here.
A situation
and we are alive.
Yes.
In Egypt for the COP27, because these are serious conversations that are going to happen from there as well. And we've had partnership conversations with, I don't want to mention for now, but companies are looking towards sustainability. Companies are looking towards how do we talk about the triple bottom line, which is ECG. It's not only about the numbers. It's about what are we doing in terms of, safety of employees, governance, and, environment, calling it ECG. So we are trying to make sure that we also kind of work into that. Developmental partners are talking about communication advocacy. It's not about paying for an advertisement. No, it's about saying, how do you work with the Standard Group to ensure that, we can really get ahead of the game. So don't worry.
Everybody is looking for
I'm going back to my
the
desk.
market.
Everyone is
right?
looking for the market, yes.
So, I mean, if we are able to reach your market,
yes,
and you want to reach your market, how can we work together so that we can talk to the same audience?
Exactly. And not only on a one-off engagement.
Yep.
Here is an ad, that's it. No. We're talking about a 3-6 months conversation.
It's an engagement
with these partners and say, you know what, let's talk about sustainability. Very soon, I told you, we'll be talking to some of those partners and talking about, okay, what is this sustainability? What is this triple bottom line? And I think no better space than, working with the Standard Group across all its platforms and, of course, coming into Spice.
That's indeed true.
What festival are you having for us for Spice? Now we have this. You guys had a fantastic motor show as well at KICC.
Yeah.
BMW.
The Digger Motor Show.
The Digger Motor Show. I mean, it was amazing. It was a success.
Indeed. Laban, thank you very much for joining us
Am I
today.
invited next Friday?
See, now we'll talk.
Surely.
We'll review your performance today.
There goes.
Yes, everything is a discussion.
There goes my opportunity to be a guest host next week. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
It's good. It's always a pleasure to have you. Laban Cliff Onsario, Chief of Staff for the Office of the GCEO, Standard Group. So when he's talking about this, it's the boss speaking.
I need to go back to office. I need to go back now to my desk. Yeah. Thank you for him for allowing me to come as well.
All right. Thank you very much as well for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, today. Join us again on Monday, and we wish you a lovely, lovely weekend. Just reminding you as we go that there's what haven't you talked about again and again and again and again and again? It's The Room. TheRoom.com. It's a place to go and get what? Best vetted talent for you, custom to you, and working for you. Lovely weekend, people. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life